that day, like when he went out to eat.
His tennis,
let's go ahead.
his tennis shoes, jeans, and a black t-shirt with Grogu on the front.
And then he changed before he went to bed into the black
sweatpants with the white stripes down the side and a long sleeve black shirt,
I think
was originally listed on the missing poster as a sweatshirt, and everybody mistaken it for a hoodie. And even Seth said himself that we both were trying to get that corrected because when they said sweatshirt, everybody assumed it meant hoodie, not long sleeve black shirt.
When he went to bed, he was wearing black sweatpants with white stripes down the side, and he had on a black long sleeve black shirt with a print on the front. I'm pretty sure it was one of his
it's like Star Wars or Halloween or
even Minecraft.
Yeah,
those are the three main things.
The three things that majority is on his clothes.
Yeah.
He has his flavors.
About what Sebastian was wearing, because people were saying, why are you just now saying that it's a long sleeve black t-shirt and not a black sweatshirt? And you guys had explained to me how that transpired and it didn't get changed. You had explained to them this is what he was wearing, but when they made the flyer, they put out the incorrect information, and that you had asked them to update it, but they didn't immediately. And a lot of people were saying, well, they didn't even know what he was wearing. Tell me about that.
So we gave the description to all the law enforcement agencies out there. They took it and listed it.
Sure.
Now, keep in mind, let's think about the telephone game. You tell somebody something, they tell somebody something, it goes back, and by the time it comes back around to you, it is not what you initially started with. That is basically what happened. We told them verbatim was Sebastian went to bed wearing long black pants with white stripes down the side, a long sleeve shirt that had an image on the front, could have been of one of three things: Minecraft, Star Wars, or of Halloween depiction. His favorite three things. Now, somewhere along the way, that got changed, and somebody said it was a sweatshirt, somebody said it was a hoodie, somebody has said it's a t-shirt.
The initial description said sweatshirt, and I clarified that it was a long sleeve shirt.
How about the clothes that he was wearing? Were those, I think you've already answered this, but just for my clarification.
Chris answered that question.
Huh?
Chris answered that question.
What did Chris say? I
Chris
must have
said
missed.
that they used his clothes for the night before for the scent dogs.
We spoke about earlier. Chris and Katie did actually confirm that the clothes that he was wearing at Texas Roadhouse that night were accounted for, and I believe they were the articles of clothing that were used for the scent dog. Am I correct when I say that, Chris?
Yes, those clothes are in the possession of law enforcement.
Great. And so do we know what Sebastian was wearing when he left?
From the house that night?
Yes.
The description is still the same. It hasn't changed from 60 days ago. However, I will say this much. Some of the information that's out on some of these posters and flyers, we have actually requested to have some of that changed, but it hasn't happened. So I'll walk you through what the description actually should be. Sebastian was wearing long black pants. Think of the 1970s style Adidas style pants. You know, had that white stripes down the side. That style of pants on. Another thing, they're not sweatpants. So some of these young cats out there probably don't understand where I'm fixing to go with this. But us older folks, go back and think of the 1980s Adidas pants where you had the white stripes down the side, almost like a tearaway style pants.
Yeah.
That is what the pants were. They weren't sweatpants. That's why I'm like, older folks will know. These younger kids, I don't know if they'll know or not.
I just call them sweatpants, but...
Well, there's a difference. He had a long sleeve shirt, not a sweatshirt, not a hoodie, a long sleeve shirt. On the front of that shirt is probably one of three depictions: Halloween, Star Wars, or Minecraft.
Okay.
Chris, I know that Sebastian didn't have very many pairs of shoes because his feet were growing, and Katie would toss them out pretty quickly after he grew out of them. But is there a reason we can't confirm which shirt if it's just one of three?
I didn't say one of three. I said one of three depictions on a shirt.
Okay, so that's
So
three
there's
different shirts, right?
Say again. I'm sorry.
So I don't know if we're saying the same thing or something different, but are you saying there's three different possible shirts he was wearing? Like he had three different black long sleeve shirts. One had Halloween on it. One had Minecraft
What I'm
on
telling
it.
you,
Star
no,
Wars.
it's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I said he had a long sleeve black shirt on, and on that shirt had one of three depictions. I didn't say he had three. I didn't say anything. I just said one.
Okay.
Right,
Can
but I'm just confused by how have you not been able to identify which of those three depictions is missing?
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Can you tell me every single shirt in your closet right now and everything that's on
No,
your shirt?
but if I had
Okay,
to
then.
choose between
Right, but
three
wait a
of
minute.
them, if
Well,
I had
hold on a
to
minute.
choose between three of them, I could.
You're saying three of them, but I'm telling
Well, you
you,
listed three things. I'm just confused.
I listed what could possibly be on the shirt.
Okay, can I jump in and try to interpret a little bit here? Okay, so are you saying that all three of those shirts are not accounted for, or are you saying you don't remember which depiction it was that was on that shirt? Does that make sense? Is that a little bit clearer?
Say it one more time. You broke it up.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so are you saying that you don't remember what the depiction was? It was one of those three things, or are you saying there are three different shirts with those depictions and all three of those shirts are unaccounted for?
I'm not saying he had three shirts with three different depictions on them. That's not what I said. I'm telling you, I don't know what exactly was on the front of the shirt. Is what I'm telling you.
Okay, so
Sebastian's clothes mostly consist of, if it has a picture on it, one of the three things. Those are his three favorite things.
Okay,
Halloween,
so what you're saying is he has,
Minecraft.
Multiple Minecraft shirts, multiple Star Wars shirts, multiple Halloween shirts. So it's likely he had a shirt that had one of those things on, but there's not just three of those shirts.
I'm telling you that he had a long sleeve shirt on with one of the three depictions on it. That's it.
Okay.
I'm not telling you any more shirts. I'm not telling. So
I'm not
I know
trying
what
to
you're
do-
asking.
I'm just trying to understand.
I understand that, but you're asking me if he had three different long sleeve shirts with three different depictures on it. And
No, I
I'm
think I
telling
understand
you,
what you're explaining. Like, so Sebastian had multiple shirts that had a Minecraft graphic on it. Sebastian had multiple shirts that had Halloween. Sebastian had multiple shirts that had Star Wars. I guess maybe several of them were long sleeve and black. So you can't identify.
here, let's just make this very simple.
Okay.
He had a long sleeve black shirt on with a picture on the front of it. There
Okay.
you go.
And that obviously is what you got from Katie, correct?
Yes.
What clothes he was wearing?
The clothes that we described are the ones I saw him in when he went to bed.
The Sumner County Chief Deputy who you just heard from there says Sebastian loves water and he loves to hide in small spaces. Sebastian is 5'5", and they say he's likely wearing all black. Now, many people.
Sebastian Rogers was last seen around midnight in his home wearing a black sweatshirt and sweatpants with a white stripe, possibly barefoot right now. He does not have a history of running away, but is known to wander and is autistic. Sebastian Rogers is an autistic 15-year-old with glasses, dirty blonde hair, and was last seen wearing a black sweatshirt and sweatpants around midnight.
Here's what we know about the missing 15-year-old. At this point, we know he wandered away from Stafford Court. He is 5 foot 5 inches and 120 pounds. He was last seen wearing his glasses, a black sweatshirt, and black sweatpants.
From what I was informed of by his mother, he was wearing like leisure pants, Adidas leisure pants with a stripe down the right-hand side on both sides, on the out-hand side. And he was wearing a long sleeve graphic print shirt.
Not a sweatshirt, right?
Not a sweatshirt, not a hoodie. It's just it was a long sleeve black t-shirt. And I've looked, I have none of the shirts that were mentioned in his closet. Both the Star Wars one that I bought him, the Halloween one that glowed in the dark is gone, and so was his Minecraft one. So it could be any of those three.
Gotcha. So there were several things missing?
Well, they're not here. And when he would wear clothes here and take them.
I gotcha. Yeah, I know the reason.
You know how kids are.
Yeah,
I like this. I'm going to wear this to school.
Yeah.
And then I might be lucky to get it back.
We're going to talk about Sebastian Rogers, who's been missing for 21 days. Alert for the missing 15-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who went missing on February the 25th of 2024. According to the TBI, Sebastian was last seen near Stafford Court in the Hendersonville area on Sunday.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here, coming at you with another raw narrative. Today is June 25th, 2024, and Sebastian Rogers has been missing for 121 days today. And unfortunately, we are not any closer than we ever have been in solving or cracking this case and finding out where Sebastian Rogers is. Today's video is a part 2, so if you haven't had a chance to go and check out part 1, definitely do that and then come back and watch this second part, because we did get into some other details that we aren't going to get into, of course, again today. Now, today's video is going to be focusing on the misinformation that was spread and Katie and Chris's lies right up front. So we have in order the Duchess interview from March 3rd, 2024, which was 7 days in. That was the very first interview that the Proudfoots did. I also added in Seth's interview. So Seth's interview was March 4th with Caitlin Miller. It was a phone interview, and that was 8 days in. And then I also have the local Nashville March 4th interview 8 days in with Holly Thompson, who interviewed the Proudfeet for the first time. Then we also are going to add in the Only Hands interview with Caitlin Miller. I also have the interview with Seth and Nick Barris. That was on March 5th. And then the March 11th, Nick Barris speaks to Seth. Now, I've also added in the Duchess interview for March 17th, the Chronicles of Olivia interview for March 16th. We have Smiley Stories, which was on March 20th. Nancy Grace, which was on the 25th of March, and then we have a little bit peppered in from Web Sleuths, which was on April 27th, 2024. So we're going to do these all in order, and the focus today will be on what happened to Sebastian. What was the story? So we're going to go over the stories, what was said by Katie and Chris. They're the only ones that know the story, so let's get right into it. So apparently, even as far as March 17th, 2024, when Sebastian has been missing now for 21 days, there is misinformation spoken out in the very beginning. And it was said that Sebastian was last seen on Stafford Court in Hendersonville. No, he wasn't last seen there. He was last seen in his home. And somehow the TBI is still spreading this misinformation. And it's 21 days in. And I find it really odd because in this interview with Duchess on the 17th, Chris sits there and says that we need to be looking at the TBI website. Well, yeah, it's because all of your misinformation is posted on the TBI website. Good job. You're a master manipulator. I'll give you that. Now, as we see here on this flyer, it says the missing truth, and when we zoom in, it says that Sebastian was last seen wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and glasses. And I find that very troubling because since Duchess was the first people that the Proudfeet talked to, and then they're spreading this information out there on this flyer, and they failed to tell her that she's spreading the wrong information. I've shared these flyers because in all reality they came out beautifully and they're very colorful and vibrant, and I think they represent Sebastian very well. But as we'll see, these are spreading misinformation, and even on this flyer it says that Sebastian was last seen near Stafford Court in the Hendersonville area on Sunday. And that's not true. He was seen in his bed. And so it's just more and more misinformation for people, because if I'm reading this flyer for the first time, I'm thinking that he was literally seen out somewhere in Hendersonville by Stafford Court, that he was actually last seen. And we know that there's no video footage of him, so how could he be last seen anywhere besides the comfort of his own home and the comfort of his own bed? It has also been exposed that there is no camera footage of Sebastian after he leaves the Texas Roadhouse. It is very misleading information. It is the epitome and the very definition of spreading false and misinformation. Now, one more thing I want to point out on this flyer, it does say that Sebastian is 120 pounds, and as we will see, that also changes. Now, in this description, in the green, you will see that the information is also listed as last seen at Stafford Court, whatever that means, and 120 pounds. He is wearing a black sweatshirt and sweatpants. Nothing about stripes down the side. And it does mention that he was wearing glasses. I also want to point out that this is coming straight from the media, who spoke with the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, who spoke with Katie. Now, I want to dive in a little bit to this TBI flyer, and as you will see, it says that there was an Amber Alert issued on behalf of Sumner County Sheriff's Office for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Sebastian is 15 years old, a white male, 5'5" tall, and 120 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Sebastian was last seen on February 26, 2024, in the area of Stafford Court in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Okay, so again, if I'm reading this for the first time, I'm thinking that he was literally out of his house, out and about in the area of Stafford Court in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Sebastian has a medical condition that does impair his ability to return home safely. It also lists on here that he was last seen wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and glasses. And this was information given by Katie and Chris. So if they want to be thick as thieves together, we're going to lump them right together. So there you go, Katie. You're the one that started this BS, false misinformation. Now, moving on to this other very nice flyer that was made. It is stating here that he was last seen now he was last seen near Beach High School on Stafford Court. Okay, so he's by the high school. Again, that's nowhere near his home when you're thinking about the proximity of Sebastian's home to Beach High School is 1.1 miles, and that's the fastest route. It would take 3 minutes by car, and it would take 20 minutes in walking distance. That's not taking in consideration how long it would take a child to walk barefoot through a neighborhood with a keychain flashlight. Yet, the TBI deems it necessary to post this on flyers, as does other YouTubers who are creating flyers. So you're putting Sebastian 20 minutes away from where he actually went missing from. Make it make sense. And Sebastian is autistic. He was last seen wearing a black sweatshirt in bold print, black sweatpants in bold print. Nothing about 1970s Adidas, 80s Adidas, 90s tearaways style pants. All you cats out there that are too young to know about it. I mean, he just sounds like a damn fool. And I mean, this is being spread by TBI. It's just unbelievable to me. Now, this also says in bold that he likes to hide under things. So the TBI is asking residents who live in the area that they search around Beach High School and Long Hollow Pike. You may check your outbuildings, garage, cars, under decks in case Sebastian used any of these hiding places. And we all know that Sebastian was seen to have had a YouTube account that he was hiding under something and filming, and then which looked much like a deck. And we also know that he was found underneath a vehicle. And so, I mean, it's just outrageous. And then here we are with another beautifully made flyer by Duchess for the Missing. It is stating that he was reported missing from the Stafford Court area of Hendersonville. Again, doesn't say much about his own home. He has, now all of a sudden it's sandy brown hair and brown eyes, and he may be wearing glasses. Maybe. Now he may be wearing glasses. Before it was definite glasses. We've seen glasses all over on all of these flyers. And it's also stating that Sebastian was last seen on February 25th at 9 p.m. when his mom last saw him in bed. And we all know that there was a thud, in Katie's own words, that occurred at 10 p.m. or if we're to believe what she told the neighbor, around 11:30 p.m. And it does state that she saw him go to bed at 9 p.m. Now, it does say in this, finally, that Sebastian was wearing a long sleeve black shirt with a picture on the front, black track pants with a white stripe down the side, and no shoes. But then it states that Sebastian weighed 113 pounds at his last checkup. I mean, what is that? So now you're putting the right shirt information, but now you're giving a 7-pound weight difference. For what? What's the reason? Why are you spreading this false information? The TBI and all of the other flyers say that he was 120 pounds and that he was wearing his glasses. And now all of a sudden he's 113 pounds and maybe he has glasses and maybe he doesn't. Come on. Interesting. And then we have this other flyer that came out at the same time, because I did share these flyers. Sebastian Rogers missing. Again, Stafford Court. Doesn't say from his own home. Sandy brown hair again, maybe wearing glasses. Who knows? He may or may not now all of a sudden. I mean, this is the closest source to the Proudfoot, is Duchess and Cluminati and all of those other YouTubers. So why are they spreading misinformation? Why is Katie telling them misinformation when they're the ones that have been sticking up for her the whole time? I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. I'm sure they're wanting other things out of it too, because I've also heard of people being promised to meet Sebastian. And excuse me while I go off on a quick tangent, nobody should want to try to meet Sebastian. If Sebastian comes home alive and well and safe and sound to home, that poor kid has been through something to survive this whole time. So I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be standing in line to meet Sebastian. He's not a celebrity. He's a missing kid, for Christ's sake. I digress. It states here that Sebastian is 113 pounds, and that's according to his last checkup. Sounds like Katie must have been spreading that. 113 pounds at his last checkup all of a sudden. He still has the sandy brown hair, and he may still be wearing glasses. Again, we don't know. Sebastian was last seen wearing a long sleeve black shirt with a picture on the front, black track pants, and no shoes. Then we have this other flyer, and this is one that I use mostly because of the color green, and it says, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers is a 15-year-old autistic Caucasian male who was reported missing February 26th, 2024 from the Stafford Court area of Hendersonville, Sumner County, Tennessee. Sebastian is 5'5" tall. Again, it says that he's weighed 113 pounds at his last checkup. He has sandy brown hair, brown eyes, and may be wearing glasses. Maybe, again. Sebastian was last seen on February 25th, 2024 at 9 p.m. when his mom saw him go to bed. He was last wearing a long sleeve black shirt with a picture on the front, black track pants with a white stripe down the sides, and no shoes. So apparently there are no flyers out there that have the most accurate information, and I don't think that there are any such flyers, and nor will there be any such flyers, because this is exactly what the Proudfoots are doing, and this is what they've done since day one. They want to confuse the situation, so that is what they're doing. And I don't know why they're trying to confuse the situation. I have a pretty good idea on why, but I don't know exactly why they're trying to confuse things, but they are. It's very apparent, and we're going to continue to go over that. So while we're watching these interviews, I would invite you to take a look at what Seth says, and I would like you to explore what Katie and Chris have to say, and how they are just a team, and if one person messes up, the other person's there to save. And they do this together. It's a joint effort, and they're pretty good at it. I mean, they've been pretty good at it so far, to where they'll say things and then they'll be like, oh, no, you're the one that got it wrong, not us. This is what it really was. And they even had Seth going with it for a while. As you see, he was commenting on the flyers being wrong, and they tried to get TBI to change them. Well, maybe Sumner County knows that Katie's a liar. I mean, they would have to. I'm just an armchair detective. They're the real detectives. They're the ones that, had to go through an academy or some sort of schooling or criminology, like my daughter went through. I mean, so there would have to be some sort of training that would kick in, especially at a high level like the TBI. Now, after doing all of this research and going back over these interviews and really diving into them piece by piece, the more I do that and the more I listen to these interviews, which I might be able to even tell you verbatim and recite for you, because I've listened to them so many times, so closely. But when I'm looking at this, I believe that this crime has been in the works, has been planned for a very long time, if not an entire year. In my case comparison that I did with Timothy Pitson and Sebastian Rogers, I spoke about meticulous planning on the part of Timothy's mother. And the reason why I said that is because there was cell phone records that were going back to a spot where they think that Timothy may have been dropped off, or worse. And in this case, I can't shake the comparison. I feel very strongly that the reason that all of the devices within the Proudfoot household, including Sebastian's devices, were so quote unquote, and this is Chris Proudfoot's words, clean, and that law enforcement actually complimented him on how clean his devices were, which I find that to be completely insane, especially when we all know that when there's no fingerprints, that can be looked at as suspicious and possibly hiding information if there should be fingerprints at the scene of a crime. We also see this with cell phones. So when people are deleting information off of cell phones, or if there is no information on their cell phone, that is a really big indicator that something suspicious is going on. Because there should be information in these cell phones. I mean, there should be banter back and forth between Chris and Katie. There should be banter back and forth between Katie and Sebastian and Chris, and Sebastian and Seth. And according to Seth, there was that type of banter. Sebastian knew to take his cell phone with him. He knew to answer his cell phone, and he knew to keep that cell phone charged at all times, so that way, in the event that he or Katie needed to get a hold of him, he would have that phone ready and he would answer his phone. So again, what's with the misinformation? Now, really quick, before we get into the video, I want to talk about the first piece of this video. So it's pertaining to a March 3rd interview, the first interview with Duchess, 7 days in. And the question is, why did they change it for all of us to look back to Sunday afternoon? He was at Costco on Sunday, right? Well, then the conversation moves on, and we're going to go over that and watch it all unfold. But before we do, I want to tell you one theory that I have about the reason why Katie went to 2 stores during this weekend, 2 stores where you would shop and buy in bulk, when it was just Sebastian and Katie in the home. So I put a couple theories in the video, but the one that I'm really sticking with, I want to discuss really quick. Going back to the meticulous planning and me thinking that this had been planned out for quite some time, I believe that Katie went to buy all of this food so that way she could haul up inside of her home after all of this happened. And here's why I say that. It's because she was not seen leaving the house for anything. And this came from the neighbor, Bobby. She said that they hunkered down. They stayed in the house. They didn't leave the home. And, you know, that would be something that you would see if your child was missing. I'd want somebody, at least one person, to be at the house in case he came back. I'm a little bit more proactive, and so I would be out there no matter what the police told me, respectfully, as Seth did, driving around, that sort of thing. However, I believe the reason why Katie was buying in bulk and bought all that food or whatever she had bought was for them to be able to have all of that at home so they didn't have to go anywhere. She stocked up the house because of that. There are too many weird coincidences and reasons why she would shove the phone into Seth's face and say, look, everything was fine yesterday. We were at Costco, and she messed up from jump. And when you tell somebody, especially if it's your child, that's something that you're going to remember. It's going to stand out to you. So we're going to go into that too. I really think that Katie had been planning this for a very long time. And I also think that they were trying to get Seth on their side and to stay on their side because he was the one that has a rock solid alibi and they do not. Okay, let's get right into it, and afterward I will put some more commentary in. Let's watch.
You guys were at the Costco on Saturday. That's when you took the picture of him, correct?
Yes, my
Okay.
wife was at Costco on Saturday.
Yeah,
The
not
shirt
Sunday.
that's in the flyer where it says optimism was on a Saturday. They were
Okay,
at
good.
BJ's on Sunday.
Okay, and what
And
is
when it
that?
comes
Is that a
to
restaurant or?
no, they are all wholesale, like a commissary style stores where they sell in bulk.
Oh, okay. So Costco
So
Saturday, BJ's on Sunday.
yes,
He
ma'am.
loves to eat all the samples, and BJ's is new, so I took him.
You're a good mom.
When I walked in, Katie said something to me and then shoved her phone in my face. There was a picture of Sebastian, the one that you see him with his optimism shirt on. That kind of confused me on why she's shoving a picture of Sebastian in my face. I know what my son looks like.
Do you know why she did that?
No, still don't know why. I just started looking to see what I could see. Obviously, my son's not there.
How long were you there?
Turned around and I was there for a little bit, just enough to talk, to find out what was going on, to find out if they had any evidence or if anything, to hear the evidence that was being said. And then I jumped in my truck and started looking for my son.
Immediately.
Within 30 or 45 minutes. I don't like a lot of people around me to begin with. And obviously my son's not there. And I'm under the assumption that he just walked out. So I jumped in my truck and started looking. Driving up and down the roads, screaming for my son.
What was Katie's demeanor like that morning when you got there?
really kind of hard to explain. But
Was she acting normal?
Shoving her phone in my face, had a picture going, see, we're at BJ's yesterday and everything was fine. And I'm like, trying to prove something to me. That's not how you.
Statement.
It's not how you prove something to me. On top of that, that picture wasn't taken BJ's, it was taken at Costco, and it's like you're already throwing false information in my face.
Do you think they actually went to BJ's or no?
I have no idea.
Do you think she was bullshitting you?
Yeah.
That morning. What?
Yeah. That's why she doesn't like my opinion. That's why when I told Chris I needed to speak to Katie, well, you can't do that unless I'm there. I don't care. You can be there too, buddy.
Wow.
So,
what was she wearing?
I don't remember. She was dressed. I mean,
She was
obviously, there was people in the house, so.
Right. But I just didn't know if she was in her pajamas or if she was dressed.
Why are they wanting camera footage from Sunday afternoon? Because
that we cannot release right now.
Okay,
That is not
I
something that
understand.
has been authorized us to
Right,
put out to the public.
That night, Katie claims the night of the 25th that Sebastian takes the trash out after they arrived home from going out to dinner. Go ahead.
There's no specific footage of that. The neighbor that has the Ring door camera that saw that, she said to me on the phone that the only thing you can see is a silhouette. She said you cannot see a physical person. There is absolutely no physical proof of Sebastian being at their house that night after dinner. There's nothing. There's her car coming home. My neighbor did tell me that she saw her car come, but she parks in the garage, so nobody saw him get out of the car.
What time was that? I always want to know what time she arrived home. Do you know?
I asked, and she said that it was so dark that she couldn't really see. She saw about 6 or so, I think is what she said, ish, because they went to dinner at Texas, and then supposedly came home, and then her car came into the driveway around 6, and then somebody pulled the trash bin out. After that, but they don't know who it was because you can't tell.
So no evidence. Any neighbor, including yourself, or because you all talk, the neighbors talk to everybody and said there's nothing to indicate that he was home that night. He got home that night.
There's no proof of that. Nobody ever saw him come home, or really, I mean, I don't even know if anybody can say they saw him leave with her. I mean, no, I don't think anybody actually looked back that far. It was so chaotic at the very beginning. I think the police were so focused on a runaway teen that was what everybody was focused on. So when they first asked to look at their video cameras, I think everybody was checking actual of him walking out, but there's no proof of him physically walking out.
Video arriving at the home.
Not that I'm aware of.
You could just first, as his father, tell me a little bit about your son.
He's got a big heart. He's loving. He's inquisitive. He can be stubborn at times. He loves to play video games. He loves animals. He thoroughly loves animals. He likes plants. He likes to, grow things. He likes to take care of things. He loves his video games. Boy, the kid loves his video games.
What has the last week been like for you as a father?
My heart is missing somehow, somewhere out here, and I'm just trying to find him. Yeah, I don't know where he's at. I can't find him.
And when was the last time you got to see Sebastian?
Last time he was at my house. So I was supposed to have him last weekend, and it would have been 2 weekends prior. He was at my house, and I got to see him. We got to play video games, watch TV. Had a great weekend.
And I mean, obviously, it seems like, what has it been like working with law enforcement? Have they been great, trying to help you with this search?
They're definitely doing everything that they can to find my son, and I thoroughly appreciate it. And I hope that they find him every day. I'm waking up hoping that they find him.
And obviously, so he's autistic. Are there any tendencies that he may have? Does he like hanging out in the trees or by water that could maybe help people find him?
He does like creeks. I mean, he loves to go fishing with me. But if he's in the city limits, he's, video games. He'd probably be, maybe an arcade or something.
Okay. And has he ever done something like this before? Just leave the house for a short period of time or anything like that?
No.
And I mean, how much sleep have you lost over this last week? Walk me through kind of what that experience has been.
I haven't had very much sleep at all. Okay. Coffee and energy drinks are my main diet is big.
Yeah. And I know you said you were out there searching. Are there any particular places that you're looking that you think he might be at?
I'm looking everywhere. I'm not from this area, so I don't know him. So I'm just everywhere. I keep telling people, keep your head up and your eyes open. If you see him, call 911. If my son hears my voice, buddy, you need to get to a phone and call 911,
Definitely. And you live in Clarksville, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you've been out here in the Hendersonville area just searching for him the last week?
Every day.
And I guess, are you in close contact with his mother and stepfather about the situation?
Not really. I mean, we're in communication at least once a day, but that's about it. Okay. I'm looking for him,
Yeah. And I know, obviously with social media, it's tough because as a parent, you just want your kid home. But there's been a lot of, speculation, too, about possible, criminal investigations. I mean, what's kind of your reaction to all of that chatter on social media?
I don't have social media, man.
Okay. But just hearing people kind of speculate about that in the community, I guess, how does that make you feel?
I think they need to, instead of being keyboard warriors, they need to put feet on the ground and start looking for my son. If they really want to help, that's what they should be doing instead of coming up with their own opinion. How about I get out there and we find my son?
And how much does your son Sebastian mean to you?
He's my life.
Do you have any other kids?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And I guess, is there, anything you want to say? I don't know how well you know the stepfather or the mother, but is there anything you'd like to say about that and that situation and how he just kind of disappeared from the house?
I have nothing to say about that.
Okay. And if you could say something to Sebastian right now, what would you say?
If you are hearing this, son, you need to tell people who you are and tell them to call 911 for you. You need to tell people that you are Sebastian Rogers and that you need them to call 911.
And anything you'd like to tell him about returning home?
I miss you, buddy. And I'm waiting. I want to hear from you. Okay.
All right.
Call 911 so we can find you, man. Come on, son.
Well, 10 days have now passed. Still no sign of Sebastian Rogers. The teen's mother and stepfather say he just walked out of their Sumner County home and vanished.
Yesterday, we heard from them for the first time pleading for their boy to come home. Our Nick Barris also interviewed his biological father.
Somebody has you, son. Run. Run to the next person you meet. Ask to use their phone and call 911. Tell them who you are. Let them find you.
Authorities announced yesterday their search efforts have been scaled back. The parents have not been named as suspects, and we are told they are cooperating with this investigation. Originally, police told neighbors in the Shackle Island area to check any doorbell or home security footage from late last Sunday night to early Monday morning when Sebastian reportedly disappeared. Now they are asking neighbors to check footage from earlier on Sunday. Here's another look at the photos we have of Sebastian. If you see him, if you know anything about this, you are asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND.
For the first time, we are getting a look at family video of the missing 15-year-old. Sebastian's biological father gave it to Nick Barris during an exclusive on-camera interview.
Seth Rogers shares custody of his son, and the deputy with the Davidson County Sheriff's Department spent the past 2 weeks looking for Sebastian.
I'm hoping he's still alive. That's my main hope right now, is that he's not deceased. I mean, I keep praying that he's alive. I keep praying that somebody's going to see him, that somebody's going to call 911.
Seth's 15-year-old son disappeared barefoot and with a flashlight from his mother and stepfather's home in Hendersonville either late on Sunday, March 3rd or early that Monday. Seth knows the key to finding his son may come from a tip. Several photographs have already been made public, and now he's released 2 video clips of Sebastian. In this first one, you see Sebastian up front on the left in yellow shorts, participating in a tug-of-war with fellow students.
And if you watch, he got swung around at the end like a little rag doll, and it's like, well, he gave it his best.
This second video shows Sebastian walking at his middle school graduation.
I was very proud of him. I mean, he successfully completed something.
Seth says his son, who is autistic, is not a wanderer. He finds it highly unlikely Sebastian would leave in the middle of the night barefoot, based on an experience his son had as a child.
He decided that he wanted to step into a mound of what he thought was dirt, and it was fire ants. And since then, it's always been, he doesn't like to get his feet in the dirt. He likes to have his socks and shoes on.
Seth won't rule out the possibility of foul play, that someone is involved in his son's disappearance. And if Sebastian is able, he says he needs to call for help.
He needs to call 911. And if somebody has him, you need to give him back. He's my son, and he doesn't belong to nobody, but damn it, he's mine. And he's mine.
Nick Barris, News Channel 5.
They did see Seth was out there a couple of times with everybody. He was at the command post. I have a good friend that was there in the command post, and she confirmed that he was at the command post. But I asked her, I said, did you see Katie or Chris or the Bowerstocks? And she said, no, never saw any of them.
Case, it turns out that I have a friend of my sister's who reached out to me. She sent me a text and said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that Sebastian's mother is my cousin. And I would really appreciate it if you could please talk about Sebastian's case and get his information out there. Team, all of the members, I did speak to the parents also, because I would like to maybe get some people together that might be interested in getting up a billboard for Sebastian in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I think anything at this point would possibly help to locate Sebastian and get his face out there. And the mom said that that would be wonderful, whatever it takes to bring her Bubba home. And that's what we want to do, is we want to bring this child home safe. Here. Hey, Trev.
Good evening, Duchess. Thanks for having me up. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm sorry that I missed your stream earlier, but I was actually talking to the family, and I told them all about your channel and the wonderful work that you're doing for the missing, and that I wanted to connect them to you because I felt like that you might be able to give them some local resources and help.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm in these. I mean, you know me well enough to know that in these kind of cases, whatever I can do, small, big, whatever it is, it's all about us all playing our part. And so I'm happy to help however I can.
So it looks like that we have them coming up on panel. So if you guys will please welcome Sebastian's parents to the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you joining us.
You're welcome.
We had a really good conversation today, and I appreciate you being willing to talk to me about Sebastian going missing.
We're on a constant roller coaster ride of helpless and hopeless and many other emotions all in one, and it's a never-ending roller coaster. It doesn't stop. It won't stop until he walks through the door.
I wouldn't wish this on anyone. Not anyone.
Oh yeah.
He's gonna
Always.
come home.
He's gonna walk through that door. And this street will be flooded again with family and relatives all waiting to hug and love him. And
That boy's gonna have more friends than he knows what to do with when he comes home. Katie Proudfoot, Katie Proudfoot, Proudfoot.
Chris, Chris, last name's Proudfoot, Proudfoot.
Horrible beyond words. This was an experience that I would have never dreamed would come. Honestly, I can't put words to how hard this has been and how much it hurts not knowing where my son is, where he's at, if he's okay. Just horrible is the best thing I can say.
It's rough. I mean, we were on day 11, no answers. And the horrible things that people say just keep rolling in, regardless of taking time to consider the facts, and assumptions is what they're going off of. But for us, it's we sit here and we wait, and hopefully we'll get an answer, or hopefully he walks through our door, which would be amazing.
I'd give anything. In a heartbeat, I would give anything.
It's not measurable. Let's put it that way. There's no measurable. Anybody says all it is. You've never sat in these shoes. You've never been in this situation. And I don't ever wish for people to be in this situation.
It's kind of funny because he also doesn't have awareness, because if you look, he's got chocolate milk on his face because he didn't like to go off at breakfast. It's funny like that.
Anybody to grab this link, he's probably waiting. Chris, I apologize, I'll put the link in here, and nobody's going to get on stage except for Chris Proudfoot. Everybody in chat, I'm going to ask you to be polite. Just let me get through this, please. And I appreciate you all being here. Chris told me he wanted to come on here. Okay, all right, can you just show me your face? You can cover it back up. I mean, I know it's really you, but because you called, but can you just show me your face, and then you can put your screen back down. Okay, are you there now? Can you show me your face? Oh, there you are. Thank you. Okay, I see Katie. Hold on. Hi.
Hello.
Okay. I'm kind of surprised, but thank you and welcome for coming up here. I appreciate that. How are you feeling today?
Pretty terrible, to be honest with you. 24 days in, and there's a bunch of horrible things being said and a bunch of misinformation being spread, and my son is still missing. And so it's horrible. There's not a better word for it, to be honest with you.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm glad you come up here, and I will. I ask my chat to please be respectful, and I will let you say what you feel. And again, I wasn't expecting this, but you're more than welcome to say what you feel. And if it's okay, I would like to ask some questions, but I would like to talk about Sebastian, and maybe we could just start there. Would that be okay?
Yeah, I think Chris is still trying to join as well. A lot of people are accusatory when we speak. Oh, it's a lie. Oh, it's not us. And
Yeah.
the
Well,
truth is no matter what any of y'all think, I didn't do anything to my son. My husband didn't do anything to my son. We love him dearly, and we are doing everything that we can to try and find him and bring him home. And his father loves him dearly as well.
mhm. Well, there's a lot of questions that people have and a lot of what ifs. And, I know sometimes it's tough. I mean, I've seen a lot of cases like this, and I know, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. Let me say that. I would not want to be in your shoes.
I wouldn't want anybody to have to be in my shoes, to be honest with you. It's nothing any parent should ever have to go through.
Right. I've seen in my own family, I've actually had a runaway and I ended up murder, and I know it's not the same. It's not my child. Although I have lost a child, and this is not about me, it's about Sebastian. But I will tell you, nobody should have to sit in your shoes. There's not words that I can say. But also I do have an autistic son, and I know many do. I'll drop her link again. I'm dropping it again. I think she's having a bad signal. I don't know where she's at. She may be where she can't get the signal good. Here she is back. Okay, Katie. Okay, there you go. Sorry about that. And you may have a bad signal somewhere. I don't know if you're having like rain or anything, but it keeps going in and out, but that's okay. But anyway, the main thing is people just have a lot of questions and just trying to make sense of everything. And you're here. Okay, Chris, I'm dropping the link again. I told nobody not to get it, but you. Here you go, sir. Oh, drop again. Sorry. There you go. If you'll just click on that. But I do, still with anything that we personally go through, there's nothing, it's not the same. And I understand that. And so I am very sorry. I'm very sorry for you all three of you. I can feel when his dad talks, Seth, I can feel that pain. And it's just different. I'm not trying again to accuse, like I said, anybody. I'm just trying to make sense of everything. And that's all I can say. I can't be fake. I have to be honest, So.
Well, it's your opinion and you're entitled to it, obviously, but I can tell you that the pain that his father and I, and even my husband, are feeling right now is immeasurable, to be honest with you. And I have never in my life would I have ever dreamed that this would be a reality.
Yes, ma'am. I don't think anybody ever thinks this will happen to them. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Yeah, you surprised me calling me. You surprised me calling me, but I'm glad I could bring you on and hopefully, talk about this. A lot of people's just interested. I know it's irritating, and I know it's irritating. Me included. I know I am too, but we're just all we all have opinions, and there's no stone we can leave unturned. We have to think outside the box. And I know it's irritating to y'all. I know it's irritating to everybody, but we all want Sebastian found. Go ahead and I'll let you start or whatever you want to do.
So there's Tom too. Do me a favor. I got to drop out of this. I got to make a phone call real quick, and I will be back. This is my call. I don't care. I don't miss this phone call because it's my daughter.
No, you go ahead.
Come back and hang tight. Give me about 5-10 minutes. I'll be right back.
You're fine. You're fine. We'll be here.
Is that good?
You're okay. Hold on.
Hello?
That's me. I'm gonna knock you off for a minute. You just come back when you're ready. Okay. So I think he's on mute. Okay. So Katie.
That'll clarify that side of the question everybody's been asking. No, he does not have a restraining order from his daughter. He speaks to her, just to go ahead and clear that one out, because I know there's been a lot of talk about that as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, he still speaks to her on the phone, as y'all see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our little girl is precious and loved, just like Sebastian. He wants to see if you can drop the link again. I think it
Oh,
got
okay.
buried in chat.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So, where do you want to start at, Chris? I was just asking little simple questions, or whatever about your work and stuff. Like, did you talk to Sebastian and stuff like that? But basically, I know it's a 3.5 hour drive. You was at work. Is there a reason that? Okay, so are you working now, or are you just taking off, or anything like that, like for a certain amount of time?
So is this to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So are you asking me that, or is one of your
No,
people?
I'm asking you that. I just wondered.
Okay.
Like if you, I was just wondering, like if you, like, are you, in fact, I'll turn my chat off for just a minute so I don't get
No, don't turn your chat off. Leave it on. It's fine.
Okay.
I mean, that way you can get all these questions coming in, because like I said, I told you, I gave you my word. I come on your show. I would answer questions. People ask the questions, but keep in mind, like I told y'all from the very beginning, I'm brash, I'm direct, but I'm respectful. And I ask for the same in everybody else.
Yeah, and I told them a while ago, just please be respectful, because I wasn't expecting this. Like, please be respectful, y'all, because.
So one thing right now, I'm gonna tell you right now, really irks me with some of these folks that want to follow these YouTube, and I'm very honest about this. Somebody says I won't talk to men. Not that I don't want to talk. Right. It's not that I don't want to talk to men. I have talked to more law enforcement men agencies in the past 24 days than I've probably ever talked to in my entire life. Same thing goes for women. So no, I don't have a problem talking to a man or talking to a woman. I appreciate everybody's assumptions or concerns, innuendos, whatever they want to be. But at the same time, I vet who I talk to. I'm not just going to open up and talk to anybody. And I will put this out there. JLR, everybody wants me to talk to this guy. Explain to me, Smiley, you probably have a better understanding of this. Explain to me why I should talk to JLR.
Oh, I mean, he's grown a lot. I just think a lot of people don't give him a chance. That's just my honest opinion.
Right. Do you know why people don't want to give this man a chance?
Well, go ahead and tell me. I mean, I want your opinion.
So I'm going to tell you my personal opinion.
Okay.
Okay. This is my personal opinion. This is nobody else's, not my wife's, not anybody else's, my personal opinion.
Okay.
So I did my due diligence, and I read up on Jonathan Lee Rich. Excuse me. I've read up on him. Not necessarily the best character in the world. When you start reading and the first thing comes up, everything that you can find on this individual. Now, I don't know him, Adam from Eve. I really don't. He don't know me, Adam from Eve. But when he opens his mouth and goes out there and starts spreading lies, and yes, lies, because unless you got hardcore evidence that I'm an abusive husband, abusive father, I've got a restraining order against me, unless you got proof, don't open your mouth, because it's real simple. I don't have any of that. Good luck finding it. I've never lied to y'all. I've been open and honest. People don't like my answers, so people want to come back with their own assumptions. And I'm so sorry that I can't open up and give you every little piece of evidence and every little detail that we know. I am terribly sorry. It sucks, because when it does and it can come out, my only question to everybody else is, when are you going to start issuing public apologies? That's not to you. That is to everybody that wants to come out and badmouth people that don't understand and don't have a clue what's going on. And I think that's pretty fair.
Do you all have camera footage in your home? I've heard people saying that too.
That is some information that we cannot divulge at this time due to the ongoing investigation.
Okay. Thank you.
I wish we could, but unfortunately we can't.
As well, but it hasn't moved. We can't give out that information because we don't have permission from her work.
I don't understand that. What?
About the make and model of the vehicle.
I have a work van that was also parked in the driveway.
Why is that, if it's out in the driveway where people can see it, why is that privileged information?
We just don't have permission from her company to divulge that information.
Have you asked?
No, ma'am, we have not. Nobody's asked us.
Chris Black says, what about the initial press release where it was said that Sebastian liked to stay up late?
I don't remember hearing that, but
I don't either, but I just wanted to put that out there because I thought maybe I missed something.
We're told he does have autism, is drawn to small spaces, and is active at night.
well, I mean, if he, like I said, we said earlier, he's a typical teenager, so he will get up in the middle of the night. It's hard to say. I personally don't remember that being said in the interview, and I'm sorry. And I'm not doubting it, but I mean, he's a typical teenager. He'd get up, go get snacks, and go back to his room. So,
He did regularly get up at night.
Mom's saying he regularly got up at night.
Tell me what happened the day that Sebastian went missing. I know that his mom said that he was having a good day. He had had a great weekend. So do you want to walk us through what that looks like again for everybody?
He did have a really good weekend, actually. When we come home from having supper that evening, he was playing. When he went to bed, when I told him to go to bed, he said, "I love you, Mama," and he said, "I love you, puppies." A little later in the evening, I myself went to bed, and when I went to wake him up for school, he wasn't here.
You told me that night that, now, Chris, you were at work. You were out of town at work,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you were not even home.
Correct, ma'am.
And Mom, you fell asleep on the couch about 10 o'clock, but you said that Sebastian went to bed at 9 p.m. And then you got up off the couch and you went to bed, and you said that was around midnight. And nothing was unusual at that point. Everything seemed okay.
There's actually a piece of, so to make something very crystal clear, so that way there's transparency across the board. Me and the mom were on the phone at 9:43 or 9:46 in the evening. We stayed on the phone for quite some time. The call logs have been verified by all the police departments, TBI included. We stayed on the phone. It was very lengthy. Mom did slightly start falling asleep while she was on the couch. I had said, "Hey, you need to wake up, put the dogs up, go to bed." Now, mind you, that was right around midnight, just before midnight or right around midnight.
Mm-hmm.
So then Mom does go to bed and wakes up early in the morning to go wake her son up, get him ready for school. And now we have a worried mom who can't find her son in the house. Mom made an effort to look and search several times. Mom has called me at the time and asked me, she was like, "I can't find him." I was like, "Do what?" She goes, "Yeah, I cannot find him." I said, "Well, hang on." I made the phone call and reported it to the sheriff's department because that's what we're supposed to do. And within 10 minutes, the sheriffs were dispatched to the location.
So kind of just walk us through that night.
We were out and about that day. We were having a really good weekend. We got home. Everything was pretty normal. He was playing in his room. When I told him to go to bed, he did. He said, "Good night, Mom, I love you." Said goodnight to his puppies. A little bit later, I wound up going to bed, and when I woke him up for school, he wasn't there.
That's usually around what time? When do you normally wake up? Around 6 o'clock?
6. I took a second and walked through the house looking for him in case he'd gotten up and was trying to get breakfast or something, because he did that sometimes. About 3 minutes in, give or take, I was on the phone with my husband and I said, "I can't find him." He said, "What do you mean you can't find him?" I said, "He's not in the house."
While we were on the phone, and I was like, is he on the other side of the bed? The normal places he may be in the house, you know, and he wasn't. So I was like, okay, well, hold on a minute. And immediately after that, we called the sheriff's department and made the report.
I ran all over the house, outside, inside. I looked in every closet.
Within minutes, they were here. They responded within minutes, and here we go.
So you said you were on the phone with her, so
Yes,
you were not home?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I was at work. I'm a tower crane operator, and I was working in Memphis at the St. Jude Project. So it's, you know, I have an earpiece in that talks to my phone. I have another earpiece in that does the radios. So when she was talking to me, it was like, what? I was confused. We talked about where he could possibly be, and then we went from there and led to calling the cops, and here we are now.
It was rapid fire. They had cars.
They
had cars from here down to the
main
road, as far as I could tell. Sunday, we were out and about. We had a really good day. We were out doing our thing, running around. You know, we had dinner that evening, and when we came home, we had a pretty good evening together as well. He was playing right up until bedtime, and then some. I let him stay up a little late. And when I told him to go to bed, you know, he's like, I love you, Mom. I love you, puppies. And he went to bed. And I went to bed around midnight. Everything seemed fine. And when I went to wake him up for school, that's when I couldn't find him. He wasn't in his room, and he wasn't in the house. And that's when I panicked. First thing I did was call my husband, and I said, he's not here. My husband said, what do you mean he's not here? I said, he's not in the house. And he said, you know, immediately just started, you know, did you check here? Did you check there? Did you look here? And I ran through the house, and at that point I was hysterical, for lack of a word. And we three-wayed the police, and I'm within minutes they were here. I couldn't tell you exactly how long. I know it was fast. And we haven't found him.
When I got the phone call that he was missing, like she said, we asked questions like, where's he at? Check this, check that. And then we called the sheriff's department. After we called the sheriff's department, I stayed on the phone pretty much most of the time. And then while I was at work, I asked for a relief, got a relief, got in my truck from Memphis, and made my way to Nashville. The morning that he was missing, yes.
Okay.
Initially, I was like, oh, he's goofing around again. Here we go. He's like hiding. And then when we talked about the places to check and he's not there, I was like, okay, stop. Instantly. Call the police. Instantly. I'm a black and white kind of guy.
Sunday, the day before he went missing, we got up and, fun fact, I made breakfast that morning. We had a good time. We were laughing, we were joking. He talked to family on the phone during breakfast to brag. We went and picked up our niece. Yeah, I got a call and asked if I could go and pick her up, and I did. And so we went and did that. We went to BJ's. Had a good time there. He ate a colossal popcorn. Came home to put groceries away because we bought snacks because, you know, he's 15 and snacks. We went to the bowling alley, and then from there we went to dinner. Came home. He took out the trash because that's his chore. He takes the can to the end of the driveway. About 9 o'clock, told him to go to bed. And he's come out of his room where he was playing, and he said, all right, good night, Mama. Good night, puppies. I love you. And went to bed. He was doing something in his room because about an hour later I heard some noise, and I was like, I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep. And about midnight I got up and I went to bed. And 6 o'clock I went to wake him up for school Monday morning, and that's when he wasn't here. To censor myself, holy freaking crap, this can't be happening, where is my kid? choice words were used, like, where the F is he, I had looked through the house for him because it was typical for him to get up and come and rummage for snacks and things like that. And he likes to dip behind the, walls and watch, and then he comes out after I come back and he likes to scare me. But, after I looked, and I mean, mind you, all of this took place in like 1 minute flat. But I didn't see him in his room. I looked all over. I ran through the whole house. I looked out all the doors and windows, and I was like hollering his name. And I picked up the phone and I called my husband, and I said, I can't find him. And he said, what do you mean? I said, he's not in this effing house. I can't find our son. And I jumped in my car and I drove around the neighborhood, and I drove over by the school, and he's already at this point I was like hysterical, and I was crying, I was screaming, and he three-wayed law enforcement and was telling them like our son is missing and we don't know what's going on, and he was like, go back to the house, they're on their way. And I drove back to the house, and 20 days later we haven't found him.
Yeah. Sunday morning, I'll just start at the morning. Sunday morning, we got up and I made a fun breakfast for us, spaghetti pancakes. Google it, y'all. We FaceTime family while we were eating so he could brag, because that's something he likes to do. And we were laughing and joking on FaceTime and having a good time with that. After breakfast, we got a call to go pick up our niece and go take her to meet up. So we did that. We went and picked her up, and we met her mom at BJ's, and we were there with family members. We come home and put our groceries away, and then a little bit later we went to the bowling alley, a local bowling alley here, and we played games. And then and this is just Bubba and I, and we went to dinner, just the two of us, and then come home. He took the trash out because that's his chore, and he come in and he was playing in his room until bedtime. And at bedtime, I told him, I said, hey, Bubba, it's time to go to bed. And he goes, okay, good night, Mama, I love you. And then he said good night to his puppies, and he went to bed.
Okay, and walk me through what happened. You said that you were on a phone call, you were on the couch, and then you went to bed at midnight. Walk me through exactly what transpired during that time before you went to bed at midnight for you.
So, well, my husband, he works out of town a lot. So we normally sit and talk every evening, and I normally fall asleep on him. And he'll tell me, wake up, you gotta go to bed. And and that was right around midnight. So I got up and I put the puppies up and I went to bed myself at midnight. And I went to sleep, obviously. And then at 6 a.m., I went to wake him up for school, and that's when I couldn't find him. And sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Take your time.
And no, I was not home when all of this took place. I actually got back to Nashville, and I believe it was later in the afternoon. But I was on the phone with the police for the majority of that day until I physically got here.
Seth said that when he came, that everything was in pristine condition except for his room. Like, I know that the LE was there, and he said that the LE was there. Well, I mean, what did he mean by that? Was that just like the bed was unmade, or, where you looked under things, or was it like, what did he mean by that?
Sebastian's room is always a little bit messy, but even more so with all the people coming in, all the law enforcement coming in and looking through things, me looking through things, like everybody was searching everything.
So I have a question then real quick. So
Yeah.
you're asking that question, is that because there's somebody's trying to insinuate that we tried to cover something up because the house was clean? Or
No.
please understand why I'm asking that question, because whether my house is dirty or clean really doesn't matter. But okay, I'm just trying to understand this.
Okay, well, I'll explain it to you. It's because I have a son that is autistic. He's 28 now. I know it's all different types of children on the autism spectrum, but they like stuff in order. It's not like you have to get paranoid that I ask you that. It's just I was asking that because I was thinking back on things, not only personally, but because I was just trying to make sense. When I ask questions, I just listen. Let me just tell you this: when I ask questions, you don't have to necessarily look. I'm not the police, okay? And you don't have to worry about how I ask questions. There's
Right.
that.
So me asking that question back is because you've got a lot of viewers. I'm not saying your viewers. So let's make that super clear so that viewers don't get that construed with anything. But there's so many people out there with their insinuations, and because you asked that question, it would not surprise me to see a comment. Well, that's because they cleaned the house before the cops got there. Trust me, we have seen it all, heard it all. People are putting stuff out there that is completely obtuse from the truth, and it is ridiculous. That's why I asked that question.
Well, I tell you
That he's
this.
with someone. Okay.
We didn't find any signs of the windows, but and without disclosing the details of my door locks, I will
I
say that
understand.
Sebastian regularly and consistently went out and locked the door behind himself.
Okay.
Yeah, not a padlock.
Is
He
that-
locks he locks the door behind himself every time he goes out it. The only people that would have access to my house have all been interviewed.
And not only that, but if somebody had been by the front door and punched in the code, believe it or not, no, it's not super clear, but you would have seen a shadow or a figure based on, something would have been visible because one of the lights is still visible from that Ring camera from across the street.
Okay, there was no windows unlocked or anything like that.
Yeah, with the screens intact and things like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing exterior of the building of our house has been altered.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why it was like, oh, not only that, but for him to go out the window, so to speak, he would have landed in the flower bed and, barefooted. Yeah, we'd have heard something because he had landed on it and screamed.
Yeah.
Miss Proudfoot, that evening, were you drinking?
No, ma'am.
Had you used any type of drug at all, even OTC, over the counter?
No, ma'am.
And you had no argument with Sebastian that night?
No, ma'am.
You stated you put the dogs away into a crate before you went to bed. Is the crate located near the exit, near a door?
No, ma'am.
Would the dogs have barked if there had been an intruder or if Sebastian had left?
The dogs don't typically bark at me and Sebastian because they're used to us. Even if we get up, we come around, they don't typically bark. Strangers, they do tend to bark, at least for a minute or two to get attention. But no, ma'am, they don't typically bark at Sebastian and myself or Christopher.
What kind of dogs are they?
Morkies.
Question, where is their crate located?
In the area near my sunroom.
Over by the
In
kitchen.
your son's, okay, hold on. Is
No,
it
son,
outside
not
your
son.
son's room?
No, ma'am, not
Sunroom.
Sebastian's room. Son, yeah, yes, ma'am.
The sunroom. And that's not near the door?
No, ma'am.
Not near the front door.
It's near my back door, but not any of the other doors.
Yes, from what I've seen the layout of the home, it is near the back door, and they would have heard someone coming in and out that back door, correct?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
No barking. Do you have a chime or anything on your doors that would alert you to the door opening?
No, ma'am.
Other than you, Miss Proudfoot, who is the last person that saw or heard Sebastian alive the Sunday before he went missing?
Two of his aunts, a cousin, and the staff where we had dinner. So BJ's, and then we went to the bowling alley, and then after the bowling alley, we went to dinner before coming home.
So your Infiniti SUV was parked in the garage or outside the garage that night, Miss Proudfoot?
In the garage.
In the garage. And Mr. Proudfoot, your vehicle was on location in Memphis. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there's only one car at the home. Is that right?
There was actually a work vehicle in the driveway at the time.
You have a work van.
I am an installation technician.
That night, was the work van blocking your driveway? Could someone go in and out of your driveway?
The van is parked at the back of my driveway, so someone can pull in, yes.
Got it. Do you park your Infiniti SUV in the garage or outside the garage?
In the garage.
In the garage. Do you have an automatic garage door?
With a clicker.
Right. Do you leave that up or down at night?
Down.
Could anybody lift it up? Like, is there an on and off button outside, or do you have to know a code or have the clicker to open it?
You'd have to know the code or have the clicker.
Does Sebastian know the code?
Not to the garage door, but to the man doors.
Not to the garage door, but to the house doors?
The regular door, yes.
So is there a code to get in your home, or do you use a regular key?
There's a code.
And he knows that code?
Yes, ma'am.
So your car's in the same place. You get in the car, you start looking in the neighborhood for him. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you call Mr. Proudfoot, right?
I believe I was already on the phone with him at that point.
Okay. That morning, you woke up at 6 o'clock. Is that the normal time you wake up?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a heavy sleeper?
Off and on.
Do you take any medication at night that would make you sleep?
No, ma'am.
But you heard nothing?
I did not, no.
So we know he is alive and well at 10 p.m. At 6 a.m. he's gone. You say he's never left before. Is that right?
Correct. He's never run off before.
And could I confirm, where was his bio dad at the time he went missing?
I believe he was at work in Nashville.
Had there been any family argument or altercation prior to him going missing?
No, ma'am.
I work for Davidson County Sheriff's Office.
And what is your job or your job title?
Deputy Sheriff, and I work in the Corrections Department.
And where were you the night that Sebastian disappeared?
At work.
And you said you were at a
correction center.
And so you were at a jail.
I was in jail.
So you were in jail. And I'm sure there's probably, with it being a jail, it's a very secured area.
Oh, yes. I am on camera arriving at 6 p.m. into the garage, which is a secure garage. You have to have badge access to get in or out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm leaving at like 7:30 the next morning. Gotcha. Exiting out of the garage.
Any video footage of Katie searching for Sebastian that morning? Like, do they have any, since you have a neighbor that has a Ring camera, did any cameras pick up Katie actually out there searching that morning before?
If she, oh, you mean before all the police got there?
Yeah.
So the neighbor that was leaving to go take her well, actually, the neighbor's camera did pick up her walking around her house.
Really? So she walked around her house?
Yeah, because in the neighbor, if you're looking to her house, the neighbor to the left of them, that the wife came out and was actually looking. There's like a little like a wood door underneath the house. What do you call that underneath the house? The crawl space. They actually opened up that door and were looking in the crawl space together. And so they were looking. But as far as outside of the neighborhood, I've never seen them, and they've never not that I'm aware of. I mean, I asked my kids, and my kids said they had never seen her, never seen him.
Gotcha. Any idea when Seth got there?
No, but I do know that he was there by the time my kids went over there, like I said, which was about 8:30. He was already there.
And
I had a missed call and a text message from Christopher Proudfoot telling me to 911. So I called him.
And what was that conversation like?
Don't be angry or mad. Sebastian's missing. What are you fucking talking about? My son is missing.
Did you find the statement, don't be angry or mad, odd?
Yes and no. I mean, my son's missing. You know, distraught would have been a better word. Confused on why he's gone. Mad and angry now. With what I know, yeah. Mad and angry fits now. But then again, what I know now is everything that Chris knew beforehand.
Did you get immediately concerned when you got that call that there was something seriously wrong? Did you just know immediately?
I left there and I was doing a well above the speed limit trying to get to Katie's house to find out what's going on.
Looking back on that call you had with Chris, does anything now seem out of the ordinary or odd?
The lack of emotion, maybe?
Interesting. When you got there, what did Katie personally tell you happened? Did you guys talk when you got to the house?
When I got there, I assessed the situation before I walked in. There was law enforcement was everywhere, in and out the doors, so on and so forth. By the time I got there, the dog people were there and the drone people were there. I was the last one to this stupid fucked up party.
What was Kathy's demeanor like that morning? Did anybody in the house, when you saw them, appear nervous or out of place or odd, or just maybe they weren't doing anything, but there was just something in you that made you feel out of place or made you feel odd?
Katie seemed to be the only one that was upset, grieving, and maybe would be the word.
What was she doing? How was she acting? What emotions was she displaying?
Just sitting on the couch crying.
Have you seen
After
her?
the initial me coming in and her shoving her phone in my face and all that sort of stuff, then, you know.
Do you feel her behavior was genuine?
I'm not going to answer that.
Okay, fair enough. Did the neighbors speak to you?
Briefly, one of the neighbors spoke to me, lovely lady that lives next door. She introduced herself. I'm horrible with names, but most of the time the people that came over, I was just sitting in a chair. People kind of looked at me, and then they would have their conversations with Chris and Katie. and Kathy and whoever else was there. There was some introductions, but I'm not one of those people you just introduce. I was watching their behavior.
Did the neighbors say anything odd? Was their behavior odd, or were they just appeared to be concerned?
Some of them appeared to be concerned. Some of them brought their video footage over for Chris to look at. So Chris got to see all the video footage, and I didn't get to see shit.
That's quite.
Still in the dark.
That's quite interesting.
That's why when I told Chris I needed to speak to Katie, well, you can't do that unless I'm there.
You got a voice. Can I ask you why Chris is always speaking for you? I'm just wondering. Why is Chris always speaking for you?
Fire away, babe. Go ahead.
If you're not there, Chris, hold on. If you're not there, people want to know this. If you're not there, how can you answer all the questions?
So, if you notice, there's certain questions that you're asking I'm not saying anything about. So as soon as you start talking about Sunday,
yeah, okay. So
I don't say nothing. Saturday, I don't say nothing. But anything after that, from the 6th, from midnight to 6,
okay,
being on the phone with her prior to, yeah. I can answer those questions.
Does she want to come on?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's absolutely fine.
Babe, if you want to answer, go for it.
No, I don't understand why it's a problem that my husband helps talk. I mean, I get that y'all want to hear my voice more, but honestly, half the time it's because I'm crying or honestly, I don't have words to explain what I am anymore.
Because it's like this, people, it's enough as it is. I'm not putting her through this. And I'm sure that right there is going to cause a big stir and say, well, I'm controlling. No, I'm not controlling. I'm a husband who protects his wife.
Well, you will only get polite questions here.
Let's go back to the Sebastian deal.
Okay.
Okay. Katie reported she heard a thud. And that's it.
But didn't she
knock
ask?
her off and go to bed?
I've seen different reports of she heard a thud. She said, I don't know what you're doing in there, but you need to go to bed. I've seen other reports that Sebastian responded back to her. If he did respond back to her, do you know what he said?
Yeah, he replied, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I mean,
no, I mean, we're clearing things up.
Right.
That's all this is. Let's just clear it up, you know?
That night, Miss Proudfoot, at midnight when you went to bed, what did you do until midnight?
I had been reading a chapter that I needed to, and I had been talking to my husband on the phone. I was falling asleep on him, so that's when he told me it was around midnight. He told me to go ahead and put the dogs up and go to bed, and that's what I did. I got up, put the dogs where they sleep, and then I myself went to bed.
Where do they sleep?
They have a big pen inside. A chapter for school. Yes ma'am. I've since dropped my classes for the time.
What are you studying?
Business administration. DeVry.
So that night you go to bed at midnight after you've been talking to Mr. Proudfoot on the phone. You put the dogs away in a cage, a crate, inside the home, and you go to bed. Did you check on Sebastian at that time?
I did not.
Okay. Do you normally?
Not typically. Since he's gotten older, I've not been checking on him as frequently throughout the night because normally he's good to go in his room once he goes to bed.
Earlier you had stated you heard a noise in his room before you went to bed. What time was that?
Around 10 o'clock.
10 p.m. What did it sound like?
Just a thud.
A thud. You stated that you said, look, I don't care what you're doing in there, go to bed. Is that right?
I was on the couch, which is near his room, and I said, Bubba, did you fall out of the bed? And he said, no, ma'am. And I said, well, whatever you're doing in there, knock it off and go to sleep.
So you heard his voice at 10 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea what the sound actually was?
I do not know.
If he were to go out his window, what would he step on?
Mulch and bushes.
Did you say mulch or mush?
Mulch.
Mulch.
Mulch. Okay.
What type of noise do you think that was that you heard?
I'm not honestly sure. It sounded like he was messing with stuff in his room, which was not uncommon, which is why I said, hey, I don't know what you're doing in there, but you're supposed to go to sleep. No, and because I didn't have any reason to. You know, when he was little, I used to check on him all the time, but he's older now and he's 15, and y'all can figure out why a mother may not want to necessarily pop into a teenage boy's room unexpectedly.
There was a noise. Katie heard it. She responded. Sebastian answered.
Okay, and see, people out there, they want to help, and it feels like that you just are like, that pissed you off that we even asked that. You know
What pisses me off is when the statement is out there. There was a thud. She asked him what, he responded back and moving on.
And around what time was that?
I'm not going to give you details as far as.
I mean, Katie gave details, but I just.
Well, guess what? That is Katie. I'm not giving you those kind of details.
No, she gave details publicly.
That is fine.
Okay.
Katie can give you that. I am not giving you that information. I will tell you this. It was between the time we were on the phone to the time we got off the phone. That's what I'll give you. That's it.
He had a pocket of fluid on the right bilateral part of his brain. It's been there since he was born.
Mm-hmm.
You have to watch him, make sure he doesn't suffer any head injuries or anything like that. It was too big for them to put a
stent.
A stent. It was not big enough to put a stent in, but still big enough to actually cause damage if he had. That's why I didn't want him in football.
Right.
I didn't want him putting on a helmet and going, head first into something, because anything that might cause damage to his head is not something like I want my buddy to be safe.
When you heard Katie indicate that there was a potential thud coming from his room with the knowledge of his head injury, how does that make you feel?
If I had heard it in my house, I'd have been in my son's room to find out what was going on. If I hear any kind of strange noise coming out of his room, wherever room he happened to be in, any room, period, I'm going to go find out what that noise is, verify, see what's going on. The fact that she would say that there was that type of noise and not go check on him. To me, is not proper parenting.
She said what Katie they had gotten home from Texas Roadhouse, took the trash out, so on and so forth. Sebastian was in his room. She was in the kitchen, I guess, getting, whatever done. And from her house, she's close enough to where she can see from the Ring camera, like the lights inside, because it's dark. So, I mean, if you have lights on, you can see it. And so she said that she could see the lights in the house around 10 or so. Then Katie told her that Sebastian was in her room. She was in the kitchen. She said, "You need to go to bed." And he said, "Okay." And she goes in the living room and does whatever, watches TV. She says she was studying. I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. She was in the living room for whatever reason. And she told my neighbor that she fell asleep and
Say that again. You broke up. Say it again. You broke up.
This funk, and she yelled across the house and said, "Sebastian," and he said, "Yes, Mom." And she said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yes, I'm fine. I'm good. Go to bed." And she said, "Okay." So she gets up, and my neighbor said you can actually see his light go off her walking across the house, her light go off, and then a silhouette come up to the window for a minute, and then everything just goes black.
What time was that again? Because you cut out.
I'm sorry, I know my son was calling me. Okay, so she woke up around 11:30 is what she told my neighbor, that she woke up about 11:30, and apparently he was still up. But I find it odd because it's 11 o'clock or 11:30 at night and my kid has to be up at 6 the next morning. I'm going to be in their room yelling at them and taking their electronics away and telling them, go to bed now. That I would be walking in my kid's room. If I heard a thunk, I'm probably still going to go in their room and ask, like, what in the world was that? I wouldn't just stay. That's what she told my neighbor. And then she goes to bed.
11:30 though. That information is not really out there. We keep hearing 10 p.m. kind of deal. Put them to bed. Hear the thump. Are you okay? Good night. 10 p.m.
Right.
But this is what she told a neighbor.
That's right.
Why was the sheriff's office called and not 911?
So our house is not designated for city limits, which jurisdictions for police are inside city limits. The sheriff's department is what governs our area because we're outside of that. So if you call 911 and you're outside of those areas, it goes to a central point, but then they will turn around and ask your location and then they redirect you to another dispatcher. If you know who the dispatcher, who your law enforcement agency is that governs your area, I just call them straight. There's no point in wasting time going from one to another to get to what I need when I know exactly who to call.
And you guys were on a 3-way call because you
Yes.
were not, you were coming from out of town. Is that correct?
We were on a 3-way call.
Yeah, that law enforcement was called on a 3-way call.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, well,
Because
I'll give
I
you.
was
Okay.
hysterical and screaming and crying and frantic.
I'll
Because
give
I
you.
was
Okay.
hysterical and screaming and crying and frantic. And so he told me to mute my phone, and he's the one that actually called because at that point I couldn't even make words anymore.
So not only that, but if folks know the area, when you call 911, you go to a central dispatching unit. You don't actually go to your local PD unit. You go to a hub on a cell phone. When you tell them where you're at, then they redirect you to the local PD. We don't live inside city limits, so the local PD they're not responding. It's not their jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to call the sheriff's office. So I called directly to the sheriff's office because I know what was going to happen. Bypass it, call them, and within 10 minutes of that phone call, they were at the house. And when they were at the house, they were at the house in full force.
Was it a lot? Sir.
You've seen the aerial shot of the subdivision, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so from our house, go all the way back down to Stafford to that stop sign where Kellen and Stafford meet. Then line cop cars all the way down Kellen out to Long Hollow Road.
Yeah.
That's how many cops came.
Many people have asked me, why did Miss Proudfoot not call 911 immediately? And here's your chance to answer that.
Because by the time I realized my son was missing and I called my husband at that point, I was hysterical. I was at the point where I couldn't even form words anymore, and my husband is the one who remained calm enough to call them.
And to be honest with you, Miss Grace, the way we live outside of city limits, so you don't call 911 because you get routed to a dispatching hub who asks what's your location, and then they route you to another dispatcher to talk to give this story. I cut all of that out and I called straight to the sheriff's department because they have jurisdiction of where we live. So sorry that I decided to bypass a few steps and go straight to the source where they responded within 10 minutes of the phone call being made.
Who called 911?
I did.
You did.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
time?
Without looking at a call log, I can't give you the exact time, but on or about 6:20.
And had you guys been talking on the phone before 6 a.m. or did you initially call Mr. Proudfoot at the time you realized Sebastian was gone?
I called him when I realized Sebastian was gone.
That morning, you search the home, Miss Proudfoot, then you get in your vehicle and you start searching. Did Sebastian know how to drive?
No, ma'am.
Now, I do see Miranda. Miranda has a child that is special needs as well, and we've covered a case on my channel involving her child in the school system here on my platform. So Miranda is a very strong advocate for kids that have special needs and them getting fair and equal treatment. And she says, how is his skills on walking around on heels or without a trail? Because my son would stumble if he had to step over a 1-inch rock or any form of incline. So, I mean, is he able to walk good? How is he able to navigate on his own? I mean, is he able to walk good? Can you hear me? Did I lose you guys? Can you hear me? Chris, are you there? Can you hear me? Trev, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, maybe Chris lost signal. We'll give him a few minutes to come back. They may have had to mute out. Thank you, FarQ. I appreciate it. Chris, we're not able to hear you. They may have gotten cut out with their Wi-Fi service. So if you need to come back, please let us know. I'm going to go over here to the chat while we wait for Chris. They may have had a phone call or something to come in, so we'll give them a few minutes. No rush. Discovering the Truth said, when my son was nonverbal, he had a speech device that was supposedly blocked from the company, so he couldn't go to any websites, and somehow he bypassed it. They're smarter than you think. Wow, Discovering the Truth. That is incredible. And he is a high-functioning autistic young man. So they have and look, Chris dropped. He must have lost his signal, guys, but he'll probably come back. Oh, here he is. Here he is. Chris, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Okay, that's like a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? I figured you might have lost signal.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll figure it out. We get it back every once in a while.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I understand.
He's high functioning. I mean, he's fully able to hold a conversation, and he walks and he loves to run.
Okay, well, that's good. And Rhonda wants to know if he has a special button on his phone.
No.
On his phone?
I don't. Mm-mm.
Okay.
But he doesn't have his phone.
Yeah, and he left his phone at home, so he doesn't have it.
When it comes to the special button, no. Just so some parents are aware, even if you lock down your child's phone, some children can actually turn their phone into safe mode, which would bypass the parental locks and then allow a child to go on the internet. There is a way to block that. You would have to look that up. That's too much in depth to go into. But no, I mean, when I say we're strict, we lock it down. We lock it down.
And did he typically take his phone places with him, guys, or did he normally leave it at home?
Believe it or not, it was actually a struggle to get him to carry his phone. he's not like your typical teenager. He's not these kids that, got to stick their head in the phone.
He's not glued to it.
He's not. Because of his restrictions, he knows that what it's for, it's a tool. It's not an entertainment device. Um, I mean, he had his struggles with doing basic, simple things. And I mean, it was a constant reminder, a constant this. And all three parents have been extremely positive and constantly trying to get him like, hey, we got to do this, bud. We got to do that.
Take your phone.
Take your
Trying to
phone.
teach him to be responsible and to think about it.
At my house, it's routine. I really don't know too much about their house, but he was getting accustomed to it because every other week coming here or during vacation times and stuff. But I didn't have much of a schedule here unless we were doing things. Because if he was going to be here and he didn't have school, it's like, hey, you can't be up all night. I have to work. You definitely need to be going to bed by like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I know you're watching TV and I know you're playing games on your Switch. And like, if I was at work, I'd just call him from work, see what he's doing, check in on him. And he knew that he needed to make sure his phone stayed charged. And then he needed to answer that phone when it rang because it could either be me or his mom calling him.
I was like, well, how did they know he had a flashlight? Do you want to tell us about that?
One of the first things that was asked is because he left when it was very dark outside, was if he might have taken a flashlight. And he actually has one that he plays with regularly, and I can't find it. So it's likely that he took it.
Okay. Jason asks, thank you for being here, Jason. Does he have anything that he holds on to? Anything that he has to have with him at all times? Something that keeps him calm when he has it?
He has various fidgets that he changes out and plays with.
Have you noticed any of those are missing as well?
Honestly, it'd be impossible to tell. He plays with paper clips and pennies and Legos. Things that several could go missing and it wouldn't be noticeable.
Okay. Please put some green hearts and prayer hands in the chat for this family.
Sebastian have a key to the house, and if he did he take that key with him?
That is another part of an investigation that's ongoing that we cannot answer.
Okay. You said there was, they had asked you if there was any flashlights that were missing, and that prompted you to go look. Tell me about that. There was some questions about the flashlight, so I just wanted you guys to reiterate that.
Right. So Sebastian had it's about a little 3-inch. If you think about the little keychain flashlights, that you used to find at vendor tables they give out for free, cheapies. It was something that he picked up at one of the local festivals, and so right now we still this date cannot find it. So we are assuming that he took it with him because it cannot be found.
And he did take his eyeglasses with him. They were not found, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Why are you convinced Sebastian left without shoes on? Or are you?
Well, the reason that came about is because all of his shoes are accounted for inside the house still.
Are you positive?
I'm positive.
Has Sebastian ever left the house barefoot that you know of?
Has Sebastian gone outside of the house barefooted? Yes. Before, has he ran off? No.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's how you were asking it, but
no, I'm glad
that's how I answered it.
I know his dad said that he hasn't seen him go outside without shoes on since he was 2. But I, however, have had a different experience with Sebastian where he does go outside without his shoes on. There's been several times where he takes the trash out in his socks, and I'm like, dude, you got to put shoes on.
Yeah.
But I would say honestly, it would just depend, I think, on the situation.
Did he walk out without his shoes on? Is that what you believe?
My statement earlier is real simple. Sebastian walked out of the house not wearing any shoes.
Do you believe he would have left the house in the middle of the night?
Different scenarios go through my head. For him to leave and not have his shoes, coat, take the switch or his phone, stuff that I know that he went with him if he was going to run away. No. But for him to leave without shoes or anything else on there, the situation would have to be severe enough for him not to be able to grab that stuff. So, based on the information that I know about my son and the story that is being told by his mom, for him to have left between the times of falling asleep and 6 o'clock in the morning is straight bullshit. And she knows that's how I feel about it.
Have you been involved or heard of any other incident where he disappeared or got lost in the past?
Never. Yeah, I took him to Boot Barn and bought him a pair of hiking boots.
And those boots were at your house?
They're at his mama's house.
And those boots were accounted for?
Yeah, they were at the front door when I walked in.
Okay, and what size is his shoe?
10.5.
Katie said she bought him 3 pairs of shoes, and she only bought him 3 pairs of shoes? Was that because he didn't like, he was very specific on his shoes, or was that a Katie thing?
Probably a Katie thing.
Gotcha, okay.
So, initially, I forgot what day it was. Myself, Katie, and Seth were in my house, and I had brought up the question. I said, "Hey, should we start a GoFundMe page to start trying to raise money to add help to this, however we can?" And the police said, "Hey, no, I don't recommend doing that, because then if you do that, it looks like you're trying to do this for profit." I was like, "Okay, that makes sense." So we all three had an agreement. We weren't doing this. And next thing you know, now there's the GoFundMe page up there.
I mean,
So all of this just kind of stemmed because you got a family member who wants to go out there and blast some family matters to the public. That's where it all stems from. Like I said, this is not family problems. This isn't about family matters being public. It's about Sebastian.
Right.
And we've got some family members that aren't necessarily kosher about everything right now, and they're upset. Their emotions are, I got it. Everybody's been at one point hot-headed, if somebody tells me they're not, that's a lie. Everybody's been a hothead at some point.
Yeah. Well,
We got a missing kid, and that's a problem. Before we started doing interviews and talking with media, we were kind of advised, hold off, don't do that. Well, eventually got to the point we needed to start talking to the media. The parents, myself, Katie, and Seth, all decided, we made a pact in the beginning, hey, if we're going to do this, we're going to keep each other in the loop. We're going to talk to each other and ask. We're not just going to go out here and do our own thing. Okay? That has always been our pact. We would call Seth and say, hey, initially he didn't want to do any type of interviews, and we understood that. And I asked him, I said, hey man, do you want to phone in with us? Do you want to come to the house and we'll do this as a group? What do you want to do? We've tried and we want to do this as a group. Unfortunately, somewhere along the way, we've all kind of gotten off track, and he's kind of gone out and done his thing. We've kind of done our thing. Mrs. Rogers done her thing. I think his sister may have done something. But everybody's getting the word out.
Did you stay with Chris and Katie there for several nights?
I didn't stay the night, if that's what you're asking. Hell no.
Okay, so you guys didn't sleep sleep? Well, because I had heard rumors that you and your family stayed there, and I was going to ask
No,
you about some,
no. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They told us not to search. All right. They told us not to be getting out and walking through the forest and shit like that looking for Sebastian. Because they didn't want one of us to go missing while we're looking for our son. Understand that. That's why I did my searching out of the vehicle. Driving around, hollering for my son, going up and down every road, looking as far as I can see, screaming for his name, almost went and bought a bullhorn.
And I also know that his truck was there like off and on the whole time.
After Chris lost his cool, I couldn't stay there after Wednesday.
Lost his cool how? I never heard this.
The GoFundMe my sister set up to help me pay my bills while I look for my son.
What was that
The
all over? Why did he want
GoFundMe-
you to stop?
hold on.
Why did he
Hold on.
threaten you?
Hold on. It was a GoFundMe that my sister set up for me to pay my bills while I look for my son. It wasn't set up as a reward. It wasn't set up as anything else. People want to know what happened to it. It was donated. I used it to pay my bills. I used it to put gas in my truck so I could drive an hour and a half down there, an hour and a half back. People.
You don't have to convince me because I know how expensive.
No, it's just a little annoying. If the GoFundMe had been put up for a reward, yes, it would have been used as a reward, and I still have some of it, and I still won't touch a portion of it because I'm wanting to put it into the reward. But it has to be set up properly, and law enforcement has to literally approve of it.
Right. Gotcha.
You know, just because people want something done doesn't mean it happens. I'd like my son to be found, and I'm looking for him.
I left as soon as I could, when I could.
You 7 hours to get home. I don't know.
It's a 7+ hour round trip from my house to Memphis.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's not. Yeah, so they're saying that some people were saying that you like didn't leave right away and you were waiting, and we already went through all that. So
well, and some of those folks' comment is correct. Yes,
yeah.
yes, because I cannot leave. I can't just. It's not a normal job. You can't just tell your boss I'm out of here and walk out the door, get in your car and leave. You know, I mean, there's a lot of safety involved. You know, Sebastian's dad, same thing. He's not going to be able to just be like, hey, I'm out of here and walk out the door. You know, I left as soon as I could, when I could.
Chris, what time did you get home on Monday? Do you remember?
I want to say it was. Well, hold on. Let's see here. 1 something, I think.
And then did you have to go back up there and get your camper? Somebody had to drive it back? Or?
No. It's a fifth wheel. It's a fifth
wheel. Oh, okay. Sorry.
No. You know, so there's a couple things that, because of this whole situation, I hope families never endure.
Right.
Without going into great details, I almost lost my job.
Mm-hmm. Over this?
Yes, over this, very much. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just you sit in the crane, you get bored. You sit on a construction site, you get bored. You know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just you sit in the crane, you get bored. You sit on a construction site, you get bored. You know.
Mm-hmm. And because of that, I was like, well, so I got permission. And I say I got permission. I asked law enforcement, said, hey, I need to go down, go get my fifth wheel, and I need to bring it home.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, and they said, okay. So we told them what day we were going. And we went down there. We weren't even down there, I don't know, 24 hours maybe. I think we were down there maybe 17 hours. Long enough to get down there. I finished packing everything up. And I say she didn't go. I was down there long enough to pack everything up. I spent the night in my trailer, hooked up the next morning, and came home.
Were you there when Chris approached the law enforcement to get the camper, to get permission to go get the camper?
I was not.
But you heard about it.
Oh, I heard about it.
What day did he leave? The very next day, or was it a day or two after?
I do not know.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday while I was there.
Gotcha. And what did Ellie say at the time you left the Proudfoot home about the status of the case at that time?
When he left?
No, when he probably went to go get the camper and you probably went on your way. Did law enforcement give you an update? That was really early on in the case, obviously much different than where we
After
are now.
Wednesday, my parents showed up from Texas, and they were staying over in Goodlettsville at the RV park.
Gotcha.
I told them where I was at, and they knew where I was at, and except for me calling them to find out what was going on, really didn't have much communication with them. I was kicked out of the command center.
What was that about?
I shouldn't be here looking at the computers. I was looking at
crying too.
My son's missing. I want to see where you're searching. Why? So I can go search. I gotta stay in my vehicle. I can't get out and go running around. Mm-hmm. But I can sure drive around.
Yeah.
I can look. I was told that I'm not supposed to be doing that.
But you did it anyways.
I've never been one, when it comes down to something important, you're going to do what you're going to do.
You're going to do what you got to do.
And there's nothing more important to me than my son.
Right.
The one news anchor, instead of just reporting, kept insinuating stuff, which in itself is a problem. And it drew the focus away from Sebastian and started focusing more on, who did it? Well, these people are, and that was a problem, so we don't want false information. None of the parents, none of the family members want false information. We just want the accurate information out there and people to focus on finding him instead of bashing parents or bashing something that they don't like, and just, if people would put that focus into finding Sebastian instead of bashing us, that would be amazing. We love you all regardless. Finding Sebastian is every bit of important as anything else. But at the same time, do I want to sit down with somebody who's dragged me through the mud, continues to drag us through the mud, and keeps putting false information out there, which causes a lot of problems, not just for us, but for the law enforcement folks that are also doing their job trying to find Sebastian. It's an issue.
No. Did you find any behaviors when Chris and Katie got together and the reason why they were the last person to see your son? I'm not trying to, I don't want to put you in a
Their
position.
conversations are inappropriate for what was going on.
How do you mean?
Talking about the next vacation, the jewelry that, I'm going to buy for that is Kathy wants jewelry and wants Christopher to buy it for her. I mean, the conversations were enough to make me sick, so I left to go try to find my son.
They were having these conversations in the house. Kathy was these people. What was your opinion of Kathy?
My opinion of her?
Yeah.
really going to piss off Chris if I sit there and tell you my opinion of her.
Have you met her before?
Yes, she was actually supposed to be helping me find a place to live. She's a realtor. Has plenty of access to plenty of places.
She knows law enforcement. They have connections. Do you know if Chris has family that works for Sumner County Sheriff?
I've heard that he does.
And do you know that his mom has a friend by the name of Ginger, which is, I guess, a Henderson chief or some kind of lieutenant or something, Henderson Police Department?
I have no idea. I just know Chris grew up in this area. They've been here for a long time. And unfortunately, I'm classified as an outsider. Mm-hmm. But my son lived there. And he went missing in Sumner County. People may not like me as an outsider. Mm-hmm. He's my son. People are going to have to get over certain things because I'm not willing to be over my son just poof, as Chris says, or Houdini himself out.
We talk about it whenever they come and they talk to us or they call us on the phone. This is a case that literally has got all of these agencies stumped. Okay, and I'm saying this very openly as far as, playing devil's advocate. Let's say one of us was suspected of foul play. Let's say something, right?
Right.
There's no way that we would outdupe all these agencies. There's no way. However, this 15-year-old boy has managed to outdupe everybody. Call him Houdini. He always wanted to be a ninja, and we kept goofing around. Well, he has officially done it because, poof, nothing.
Talking about they still don't know how he got out of the house. There's no evidence he ever left the house.
That's what we kind of concluded with everything.
It's the same thing that they said at the last press conference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like people to understand, being in law enforcement, they don't have to tell us it's a criminal investigation. Right. What they have told us is that it's an investigation. And it's the same thing I've told people close to me, that you'll know if it's a criminal investigation when they slap them fucking bracelets on your wrist and you're off to fucking wear orange for the rest of your goddamn life. Bubba gonna like you. Mm-hmm. And I feel sorry for whoever did it. Best bet is just to let my son go. Yeah. Drop him off at a gas station. Tell him to go in and tell him what your name is. Tell him to call 911. Doesn't matter where you are. It will get to me. And I will be driving to pick him up.
Is there anything else that you guys want to share with us that you think that we need to know about the circumstances involving Sebastian going missing? Is there anything that you want to share with us that we have not talked about? I'm going to put this flyer again here so you guys can take another look at that.
I mean, everything that we've covered so far, is exactly everything that we've covered. We miss him and we want him home.
Exactly.
Love to be home.
If you see this flyer on social media, you guys can share this from my YouTube community wall, from Trev's. You can share it from our Facebook pages. I'm sure Arctic Fox also has it on his page. Whatever we can do to try to help your family, please reach out to me and let me know. And we have a wonderful group of people in this community that will try to do whatever we can. And hopefully I'll hear something from Wings of Hope, and they'll let me know if they're going to be able to try to assist. David Bryant, thank you so much for your super chat. He said, we're going to find him. Keep your head up and hug him tight when he gets back. Prayers for y'all. Everyone keep searching and doing what we can. David, I appreciate that. I'm going to take that $50 and I'm going to put it towards that billboard that I'm going to design. We're going to get that up for Sebastian as soon as we can. I really appreciate you donating. It means so much. Well, guys, I really appreciate you joining us. If you have any updates that you want to share with us, please don't hesitate to reach out. If there's something that you want to share, if you want me to have another live stream, you may want to have a live stream with Trev. He has a large following on his channel, and some of those people don't necessarily follow my stream. So I'm sure they might, want to talk to you, and so we can continue to share out Sebastian's information, and you will be on my prayer list. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll even share my phone number with you, and if there's anything that you need, you can call me.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. It's just there are so many people that are out here supporting. Don't listen to these naysayers.
We just want to say thank you to everyone who's working with us to try and bring him home.
And everybody for all your support and your prayers and your love.
You have a lot of people that are working very hard to find your son.
Tonight, the parents of a missing teen in Sumner County described to us exclusively how they feel on day 8 of their son's disappearance. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Marius Payton.
And I'm Lauren Lowry. Sebastian Rogers is 15. He was last seen by his parents on February 25th in Hendersonville. Sebastian has autism, and he's gone without his medication this whole time. And since then, authorities have searched by air, by foot, and on horseback.
Helicopters, drones, and dive teams have also been brought in to try to find him. Today, his parents spoke exclusively to our Holly Thompson.
She's live tonight in Sumner County. Holly, I imagine it was quite an emotional interview.
Certainly was. It is hard for any of us to imagine the emotions that this family is going through right now. But we know one thing is certain. They remain positive. They are holding on to hope that their son Sebastian will return home safely.
Can you walk us through what you're thinking right now?
I just want my baby to be okay. I don't know where he's at.
Mom Katie broke down several times in our interview, but says her hope is strong that her son Sebastian will be found safe and return home.
He's going to walk through that door, and this street will be flooded again with family and relatives all waiting to hug and love him. And
Stepdad Chris says it's been an emotional roller coaster that all started Sunday night, February 25th.
Pretty normal. He was playing in his room. When I told him to go to bed, he did. He said, "Good night, Mom. I love you."
Katie says she went to wake up Sebastian around 6 a.m. Monday for school, and he was gone. Within minutes, Katie says she was on the phone with Chris, who was working out of town, and they quickly called 911.
And he's not a runner. He's never run away before. I don't know why. I don't know why he walked out that door.
I mean, he's a good kid. He's not a mischievous child by any means.
Katie and Chris say Sebastian is not on social media. While he loves to play Minecraft, they tell me he does not have any online capabilities. I asked if there was any reason he might want to leave.
We've been combing over that day and even the weeks before he left, and I hadn't been able to figure it out. He's, that morning he was laughing, he was joking.
It's as if Sebastian vanished. No sign of him on any video throughout the community. Thousands of miles logged by law enforcement, canines, helicopters, even dive teams, and no sign of him. Chris and Katie tell me they've been harassed, people pointing fingers at them.
You're not in this situation. You don't quite understand. I wish people would step back, take a different wide open view, and not assume what they know. It's just better to stick to the facts.
Are you both in the clear?
I can tell you that Mom, myself, and the father have worked very fully and cooperatively with all agencies across the board. We have anything that they've wanted, we have provided.
What do you want to say to Sebastian? What do you want him to hear from you right now?
That we love you so much, and we want you to come home, and you're not in trouble.
understand. We tried so hard to find him. We looked high and low.
That's why we were so crazy when we lost him. I mean, he's here, and now he's gone. Where'd he go?
Oh, Mama, it's all right.
Okay,
Mama.
They get it? Well, where'd he go?
I was at the camp. Hey, how exactly is a rainbow made? How exactly does the sun set? How exactly does a positive track rear end on a Plymouth work? It just does.
It just does.
How long did you look for me before you gave up? Exactly how long?
All right, we didn't lose him. We just left him. So what? The dude's doing fine. Look at him.
How could you do that to me? I was just a little kid. Do you have any idea what it's like to be a kid and have nobody around to talk to? No one that cares if you're alive or dead? Every day you just think you're worthless and there's a void in your life?
Oh, come on,
Lighten
honey.
up, buddy.
Lose that frown. Hey,
you're grounded.
Now, Katie did tell me that even though Sebastian does have autism, he is a smart teenager. He is highly functional. They say if you see him, say his name, say Sebastian, and he'll respond. He'll at least acknowledge you. And I can tell you, this is my home. This is my community. And the people here are strong. They say they will continue to search. They will continue to hope and continue to pray for Sebastian's safe return.
Much has been made. I'll ask you. You very often look away, don't look at who's asking you questions, show no emotion. Much has been made of that, and I'd like to hear your response. I'm not judging one way or the other. I'd like to hear your response.
To the fact of not looking at the camera all the time is because a picture of my son is sitting beside me, and I'm looking at him. As far as the crying thing, I have been crying off and on nonstop for a month.
Hearing the events that unfolded the day before, do you believe, based on what you heard, that it was possible that your son was overstimulated?
We had a very, very packed day. There was a lot of goings back and forth to the store, then back to the house, things like that.
You asked for basically a proof of life video from law enforcement because you had not spoken to your son since the Thursday before he went missing. So you didn't speak to him Friday. He was out Saturday with his mom, Sunday, and then Monday he wasn't there. And so law enforcement did bring you, brought you in and talked to you about the Roadhouse video, and you got an opportunity to see your son walk out of the restaurant. What was the first thing that you noticed when you saw that video?
He's alive. It was literally just a proof of life video.
What was his demeanor like?
There wasn't enough for me to tell.
Anything appear odd or out of place when you were looking at that video?
Didn't pay that much attention. I was just happy to see that.
Gotcha.
Do I wish I had? Yes. Do I wish I had that video so I could sit there and just look at it? Yeah. But I'm not law enforcement in this case. When they came in on Monday that he disappeared, they trashed his room. Flipped mattresses over, took sheets and blankets and stuff off of his bed, went through his stuff. And I told them when they came in, I said, listen, his room is probably a mess. You know, just bear with it. And when they walked in, they were like, his room is cleaner than my kid's room. Well, needless to say, when they left my son's room, it was like he had been in there a week and never left. And it took me a minute just to go in and clean up my son's room. Put everything back where he had it.
Our first responders say they did not take this decision lightly, but they have literally exhausted every single resource they can think of to find Sebastian Rogers, and all of them have fallen short. Sumner County officials called a press conference earlier today to announce that they were scaling back, but they walked away before we could answer or ask any questions, rather. Sumner County's emergency management director says today they have crews looking within a 0.3 of a mile radius from Sebastian's home. They already have searched this area 4 times, thinking maybe he would return. Throughout these 8 days of looking for Sebastian, investigators have used drones, fixed-wing airplanes, helicopters, ATVs, canines. They've searched searched on foot and horseback. They've drained a pond east of Sebastian's home and have even looked extensively inside storm drains. Investigators say they've thrown everything they can at this search.
If there was a resource we thought we could utilize to help locate Sebastian, we've used it, and we will continue to do so based on the leads that come in. The Sheriff's Office continues to urge families to check your properties, to check your cameras. No detail is too small.
Now you can see behind me the command center at the Shackle Island Volunteer Fire Department is pretty much cleared out, at least compared to days prior. They will still operate from this facility, but it won't be manned 24/7.
Mounted patrols are on standby today to help with the search for Sebastian Rogers. Now, there's been no sign of the teen since he disappeared more than a week ago. Then yesterday, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office significantly scaling back their search to focus on the investigative side. With one of the volunteer mounted patrols who says he's on call for the time he and his horse are ever needed again.
So you're hoping that every day that you go out there, you're expecting to find something and you're thinking this is the day.
Every day since Tuesday last week, R&M stables have assisted in the search for missing 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers. But on Monday, authorities announced resources dedicated to search parties would be scaled back to allow for an investigation. The owner of R&M Stables, Ron Chalasta, tells me his service horse, Trooper, and ranch hand Brian Feltz are just waiting for the call from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office to get back out and help where they can.
There does come a point, and of course, you want to keep exhausting every possibility. We even covered some trail that we had previously covered.
Riding through creeks, rocky terrain, and people's backyards, being mounted on a horse gave Ron and his team an advantage that people on foot and in ATVs didn't have.
You can get up to those higher elevations where it's very difficult for somebody who's doing that on foot, where ATVs can't get through the brush.
Through an app called Equilab, volunteer-mounted patrols' steps were tracked in their assigned perimeter. Trooper and Ron navigated an estimated total of 37 miles together in the search for Sebastian.
Chief Craddock said, hey, can somebody ride from Command Center all the way down to Hendersonville Mounted Police Barn? And our horses, Jeff Duran and Brian and I, we were in the water that whole afternoon. And so the banks were saturated. It was a rough go.
Now, with the search efforts scaled back, Ron says the community of Sumner County won't give up on finding Sebastian.
Okay, guys, so a lot to unpack here. Obviously, when people over-explain and they try too hard to create their own alibi, which we've seen many, many times in different cases. One of the examples that I gave in the video was when the 911 operator is called and people are already trying to tell the 911 operator where they were or what they were doing when this occurred, right? So when the emergency occurred. And that's what Katie was doing, in my opinion, when she shoved the phone into Seth's face. And she says, see, we were at BJ's yesterday and everything was fine. But Katie was, in fact, using the picture from Costco on Saturday. And so immediately there's a red flag. And it takes Seth a minute to get to this point. And it also, I think it takes him a minute to maybe warm up to Bullhorn Betty. She's trying to kind of ask him more questions about that morning. And so he doesn't really say it at first, though. He's more or less dodging the question a little bit, because at first he says she's shoving her phone in my face. I know what my son looks like, which obviously that would be weird, but he doesn't elaborate until Betty asks some follow-up questions. And so it just really makes me think back to the pact again, and how this pact was formed in the first 3 days, and the Proud Feet are trying to get their claws and tentacles into Seth because he has this alibi and he was at work and everybody can confirm that. And so they're trying to be like, all of us parents are united, right? They want this idea to go out to everyone, that all of the parents are united. We're going to get more into that in the next video, because I'm going to dive right down deep into that. And I don't know if anybody else has. I haven't even had time to watch as much YouTube as I usually do, of course, but because I'm diving into this. But the fact of the matter is there was a pact. It was stated by Chris Proudfoot. He was the maker of the pact. It was his idea. It was also his idea for the GoFundMe, which went awry because they made a pact not to do the GoFundMe, and it was his idea. He wanted to monetize first off. So let's just get that straight. That is out of his mouth, out of the horse's mouth, that he wanted this pact to exist, and it was his idea for the GoFundMe. And then Seth's sister turns around and she starts a GoFundMe for her brother, which I would do the same thing. I would do that for my brother or my sister, because I love my brother and my sister, and if my niece or nephew was missing, I would want to do everything that I possibly could. I don't live in the same state as my brother and my sister, but I also know that I would be talking about it nonstop on my channel. I would be screaming it from the rooftops. I would be printing out flyers, whatever needed to happen. I would also help with as much money as I could. And so, and when you don't have a whole lot of money, I don't know other people's circumstances, but when you don't have a lot of money, that's what that GoFundMe and that crowdsourcing is really for. Not greedy little bitches like Chris and Katie, who probably have something to do with it, so they don't deserve shit anyway. And in all honesty, I would even give them kudos if they were even acting remotely worried or acting like they want him found, but they're not. So crowdfunding came about to help people in need, and when you give to that, unfortunately, sometimes the person might not do the right thing, in your opinion, with the money, but in the same token, if you're giving it out of the kindness of your heart, it really shouldn't matter what's done with the money, as long as it's not spent on like cocaine and strippers, you know, or something like that, or something horrible. And even in my opinion, even to help a friend out. So I don't know, there's a lot of speculation in this case on that happening when it comes to Seth, because we do see that Seth does get a lot of support from this GoFundMe, because as we know, and as has been corroborated through the neighbors, and as has been corroborated through the police kicking him out of the command post, and neighbors actually seeing him physically at the command post, I mean, we know that he's out there, he's searching. And so, of course, people are going to donate to that cause. And of course, people are going to want to help him out with gas money, especially when he lives all the way out in Clarksville, and he has to travel back and forth from Hendersonville to Clarksville. So either way, he's either paying for a hotel night, or he's going to, which adds up as well, or he's going to have to use gas. He's not going to be at his house where he can cook meals and things like that, so he's not in a position where he can just go off and buy something at the store and make it cheap at home. He has to buy everything out when he's thirsty, when he's hungry, etc. So in that regard, I can see why people would have donated to that cause, and why people would want him to, you know, spend that money on that cause. Then it was speculated about all of this other BS, because Chris and Katie were spreading that all over the place, all over, and then the insidious nature of the channels that they were going on, spreading that out as well. Not every single one of them was, but a lot of them were just spreading that around, like Seth is just a horrible person for using this money, but the money was given to him. And I'm going to give an analogy, and I'm no way calling Seth a bum, but if I give a bum, you know, $10, you know, I'm giving him money. A lot of people won't give him money, they'll give him like a sandwich or something like that. If I give a bum $10, I expect that bum to buy whatever he wants with it. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna buy it whatever he wants. Probably booze, maybe some drugs. Who knows what he's gonna buy with it? But it's out of my hands. I'm doing that because he's standing out there, and we have a lot of panhandlers where I'm at. A lot of them. And I've given them money before, especially like an older lady or an older gentleman. Of course, that pulls at my heartstrings. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe that makes me stupid. But in the same way, it's what I wanted to give to somebody out of the kindness of my heart. What they do with it, yeah, I would want them to go get something healthy with it. But if they don't, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you know, screw you, you jerk. No, it was my money that I gave to them for what they wanted to use it for. And if they squander it, I mean, you have to keep that in mind when you're giving it to another person. We cannot control what another person does with money or any kind of situation, you know, and in my opinion, again, I believe that Tony is a horrible person to have in the middle of this case with what had happened with the whole penile debauchery. And I'm not going to show anything like that. I don't want to, you know, have that on Sebastian's picture and everything like that. I gave Tony a huge benefit of the doubt when he first got on the case. because I was like, I don't really see anything that's horrible, like I don't think he's really taken money from Seth. I know other people that might have been taking money from him, which I believe that, but I don't necessarily believe that that's what Tony was doing. The end game may have been to monetize off of the missing, which is awful. I don't think that he brings much to the table. I've tried to watch some of the TikToks, and for one, they disappear. That's kind of a hokey pokey kind of game. I don't like that. Another thing is that he's not very genuine. I've noticed that about Tony, but I felt that I really wasn't gonna talk too much about it. But I decided to, because whenever he green screened his peen, there was that tiny malfunction, and it's so nasty too, because like it protrudes outwards. Like it's like I don't have one, but like I've definitely seen one like rise up, what I mean? And like seen it come out, like it looks like it's all, like I mean, there's a tip on it and everything. Like it's protruding outwards, like I mean, I'm just saying it was in real time. It was in real time. Just when we think that things couldn't get any worse, we have this whole disaster that occurs. And so, and Tony's responsible for it. In my opinion, I heard the tinkle, like if you put your headphones in and you listen carefully, you can hear like that he goes into a room and it's like the door shuts and you can hear the outside noise stop, like as if you're going into a bathroom, like if you've ever been into a crowded bar or restaurant or anything like that. And he says he was like in the hotel lobby, so he was probably having a drink at the bar perhaps, and there's the bathroom and he went in there and you can hear it, the noise, lessen. And then you can, see this come protrude out, and then you can see, like, as if he's pulling it out to use the bathroom, and then you hear a tinkle. And when I heard it on my earphones, I can't remember who I was listening to, but I was, like, freaking out and screaming to my boyfriend, like, oh my god, like, he's like, shut up, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm like, no, I hear the tinkle. And, I mean, I was like, I went freaking nuts, because I was like, that's what it is, like, because at first I was like, well, maybe it is something like people are messing with them, trying to pick on, TikTok Tony. I was like, oh shit, but yeah, it was the real deal, and he couldn't just come out and be honest with it. That showed me that there's a lack of integrity there, and in that regard, just having that happen, I don't know, maybe Seth chalks it up to an accident, which I'm sure that's what it was. I'm not saying that, he was like doing that. I don't think he was like getting pervy with it. As Chris Proudfoot would say, he made us privy to all of that phony baloney. Either way, I don't think that he's a good fit for this case. And I've seen a lot of good people, and we're gonna get into that later. But right now I wanted to focus on Sebastian. But what I was trying to get at was, with all of this PAX and all of this, we're gonna do everything together. You want to come over and do a group interview, bro, and all this with Chris? That like would scream weird to me, especially with the level of animosity and the level of contempt that was between Seth and Katie. And the whole reason why Seth and Katie really didn't communicate directly together, they always went through Chris, or they oftentimes would go through Chris rather than speaking directly to each other, is what I've gathered. So with that in mind, I really wonder if Seth was in a position where he made a pact, which I wish I could just ask him that one question. Did you really make a pact with Chris Proudfoot? Because I mean, he obviously, the minute that Chris wanted to work together, he jumped on it. Seth was like, of course, and he told everybody, right? This is where people started getting pissed with Seth, and in his interview, like I said, his first one, I didn't agree with that, what he said. I know he hates YouTubers, I'm sure he hates me, but that's fine, you know what I mean? I don't care. It's not about me, it's not about him, it's about Sebastian. I just want Sebastian to come home. I pray daily for Seth and Chris and Katie. I pray for all of them. I pray that Sebastian comes home safely every day. But this is where everyone was getting upset with Seth, and because he told everyone to F off, but he really meant it in the way that if you're not going to get on Team Sebastian, where we're not worrying about talking shit about Katie and Chris, and that you can just fuck off. Which I mean, I would fall into the category of people he was telling to fuck off, because I talk about and I explore Chris and Katie's words. I'm an interview dweller, and I am not afraid to wear that badge very clearly and proudly, just like my bitch badge. But I have always fully endorsed them working as a united front, and I also said that I would have to do that. Oh my gosh, I just almost got sick thinking about that. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry about that. And see, this is why, I have a bias for Seth, because I could just imagine having to work, with my ex like this. Because he's a narcissist, and it's just, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where you feel for that other person no matter what. I'm just like, holy wow. And then you got Mama Bowersox there, talking about her frickin' jewelry set. She's some kind of, she's putting on airs, in front of everybody. She's just oh, so ritzy, we're going on vacation. That is so sick. And I've been in a situation with narcissists and flying monkeys, and it is, enough to make you vom. It is so disgusting how they act, and I just totally understand what he's talking about. And as brief as I wanted this commentary to be, I do want to throw one more thing in, and that's the fact that I was really thinking a lot about Seth's position from jump. It's just him, right? And he just gets off of work, and his son is missing. He gets a 911 missed phone call and a 911 text, don't be mad, Sebastian's missing, type of a thing. And he just worked a whole bunch at work. Was there at 6 o'clock the night before, so all overnight and everything, and then he's got to drive all the way to Hendersonville because his son is missing. And I thought about the fact that Katie and Chris have each other as a support system, which everybody out there needs somebody. And I've always been told, just kind of a sappy thing, but I always believed it too, that there's someone out there for everybody. You know what I mean? There's someone out there for everybody. So, with that being said, I just felt bad for Seth, the fact that he had to go it alone, because I had to go it alone too for a long time. And I know that there was a lot of speculation about Seth and how he didn't jump into a relationship right away and stuff. And when he said, when he was talking about the trauma, it really resonated with me as well, because it was that's why I didn't have a long-term relationship right away. It's very hard in the dating world, especially when you've been married for a period of time and you're just kind of used to being comfortable around somebody. Usually dating can be pretty awkward for most people, and so I understand where he was coming from on that, and I also felt really bad for him. And then all of a sudden, Trevor Lee mentions that girl Michaela, and that she was at the house at midnight and stuff. And so I'm like, oh, well, good. He's got somebody to talk to. He's got somebody to maybe cuddle with him or something like that, and a shoulder to lean on and cry on. You know what I mean? Nobody really wants to be with a hot mess like that all the time, but it's also nice if you're able to find somebody. So I thought that's cool. And then I heard about all of the other stuff that was going on with that. And I just really want to say that you can't steal something that wasn't yours to begin with. And if somebody is willing to go off with somebody else, or somebody doesn't want to be with you anymore, it's just the best case scenario for you to just move on. Because everybody's worthy and worth love, and everybody deserves to have somebody that's going to be there for them. So I really hope that he finds that person. I know he's gotten a lot of flack about that, but I don't blame him. I mean, hopefully he wasn't I know some people said that he was kind of advances at them and things like that, which I find to be inappropriate if that's true. But on the other hand, I mean, when you're in a vulnerable situation like that, and somebody of the opposite sex is, or if that's who you're attracted to, somebody's hitting on you that you find attractive, and it just feels nice to have that hug and that human connection, right? So, I mean, I don't fault him for that. But my heart is in the right place, and I want Sebastian found, and I want to pick apart these interviews because I don't think that law enforcement is really paying attention to what's being said on the web. Because if they were, then they could take these interviews and piece them together and be like, okay, well, this is the first interview in order. This is another interview where they said the same thing in this way. And, and there's ways that you can, because people are telling half-truths, and there's ways that you can look at this and say, okay, here's some clues. Even though we don't really have hard evidence or clues, here are little breadcrumbs that we can follow to see if we can figure something out. But the more I look at Chris and Katie's actions, and then just the most recent, where there's actual video footage out there of Chris's stepfather, Mr. Bowersox, that I put in the thumbnail. Yeah, he was following around a YouTuber that's going down there just to search help, just going down there for Sebastian. And so, I don't know exactly everything she's been doing, but I mean, as far as I could tell, she's trying to help, and she's trying to retrace some steps and trying to figure things out. So that's fantastic. She's met with all of this resistance from Chris and Katie's camp, and then also like directly his stepdad. And so it really solidifies my theory that the 3:10 a.m. flashlight video from part 1, like I said, if you didn't have to get a chance to watch it, go back and watch that one first, and then please come back and watch this one. I really appreciate it. But when you look at that, the flashlight video and what's going on in there, and then the two flashlights going one way towards that, towards the headlights. There's 2 lights, 2 headlights, and then one flashlight hurrying back. It just solidifies that had to have been one of her accomplices. And the first people that I think of who would be direct accomplices and enablers are the Bowersox, which is Chris Proudfoot's parents and Katie's in-laws. That's who I'm very strongly looking at after watching that unfold. And it's just completely insane. And it just solidifies all of the quote-unquote, thanks for gaslighting us, rumors that are out there that people are being harassed and being stalked, and flyers are being taken down, and people are hindering the search efforts. And so I think this is coming from many different areas. But when I look back, and like I said, we're going to dive right into this too, but when I look back on them doing this pact and making this pact, I think a lot of it stems back to Chris Proudfoot, and he's the common denominator with the bullying and the hindering of searches. I mean, they're hindering information from day one. They have cohorts who are hindering this information, and I'm a contemptuous woman myself, and so I don't mean any disrespect when I say this. Bullhorn Betty is like a bulldog, right? So when you're in sales and marketing, and I'm a real estate agent in Missouri, but I'm dropping my license because I'm going to be moving to Florida soon. And so I'm not doing my continuing education for this time around because I'm going to be moving. And so I'm not working at this time. So it's a perfect opportunity for me to launch my YouTube channel. And that's what I'm doing with this right now. And so I've done this, for free, not made a dime off of it. But in that arena, when you're in a sales arena with men, they give you like little nicknames, right? So like a bulldog is somebody that's like not afraid to go out there and get it, right? They're gonna go at it. They're gonna go after whatever they want, and they're gonna be like a dog with a bone, right? Dogged. So that's what Betty reminds me of. And when it comes to me, I'm like a pug, right? I'm like a little pug, I'm sweet, but I could also, have an attitude, and I also like to yap, if you haven't noticed. And so I'm going to get out there and I'm going to use my voice, and I'm going to be a voice for people who can't talk, like Sebastian. That kid made us fall in love with him, and I'm sorry, but you have some diehard people who just want him home, who have no other intentions other than just want him to be with his family. All of his family. That's it. That's all I care about, is him being with them. And I don't care who they are. I don't care what they are. As long as they're being nice to him and maybe they can change their ways, they can get some counseling and they can get some resources, because everybody needs that, especially when you're in a toxic family dynamic with a narcissist like Chris Proudfoot, and then you have his enablers. So it's very complex. However, I am a firm believer that especially children with special needs need to be with a caregiver who is a family member, because there are so many cases out there where there is such severe abuse on children with special needs from them being teased and picked on by their caregivers, like Chris Proudfoot does, but even on a more horrible level, because they're not directly emotionally anything attached or even familially attached to this child or this individual. And so I am a big advocate for that. I'm a big advocate for keeping children with their families, because we see it all the time where they think they're going to take a child away and put them in foster care, and then you have these foster parents who don't care. So you have these foster parents who don't care, and they abuse them even worse, and they exploit them even worse than their family does. And so it's not always just a wonderful solution. Another thing I want to get into briefly, which is very near and dear to me, is CPS involvement. And we're going to do a total deep dive into that on another day. But just the mere fact that CPS was involved and nothing was told to Seth is absolutely insane. And then the fact that they want to hold this over Seth, like, it's just such a you can't share these records. We gave them to you, but you can't share these records and show the public how horrible we really are and how horribly we really dropped the ball. Because, CPS is always right, and they're never held accountable. And we have seen this so many times. And even in Harmony Montgomery's case, it breaks my heart. And I don't understand, and I don't know what we need to do, but these people obviously need more training, so that way they can identify these people. And I really believe that families need better resources to be able to tackle these situations, and they need to be able to listen. As we go back and we look through the interviews in order, we see that Katie adds details as she goes. I would love to know what was said and told to law enforcement initially, because her story has become so jumbled up in everyone's minds, and she's managed to confuse everybody so much. And then every time that people are confused, either legitimately or illegitimately, because I understand that sometimes people are asking the same question over, but if we're getting different answers, that's why they're asking the same question over, right? Another good way to tell if someone's lying is asking a question to them. Asking them a question and then asking it in a different way. So you might ask somebody a question like, is the sky blue today? And then you might turn around and ask them in later questioning, what color did you say the sky was today? Something like that. So that way we can get a baseline. So that way we can figure out if they're being truthful or deceptive. It's a good tool to use. It's not going to be like anything else. It's not 100% accurate. However, we've seen it work in the past. And so I can understand why sometimes people will ask the same questions maybe in a different way to catch people up and see what's going on, right? Because it's been so confusing. But this utter confusion comes from that. So whenever Chris and Katie get caught in one of their lies, they'll backtrack, or they'll say something like, well, we didn't say it like that. I never said this. I said this. And so they play semantics. They play word salad with us, right? And so it's like if I say, well, the sky was bright blue today, not a cloud in the sky. And then later on, in another interview, I say, well, the sky was blue, but it was nice and cloudy. I saw pictures in the clouds and just beautiful billowy white clouds. And then if I go into another interview and I say, you know, that day the sky wasn't totally blue. It was kind of like just a nice bluish gray. You know, and then when I get called out on it in a later interview, I might say something to the effect of, well, I never said exactly what color the sky was. I mean, I kept telling you guys it was blue. I mean, I said it was blue every single time. I told you it was kind of a grayish blue. I mean, you know, well, I thought you said that there were no clouds. Well, you know, actually, I said that there wasn't any clouds where I was standing. When I looked up, it was just all blue skies, but there was clouds, you know, in the distance. I didn't say there wasn't clouds. I just said the sky was nice and blue that first time. I only said the sky was nice and blue. I mean, I didn't say anything about clouds, so. I mean, it's just complete gaslighting, right? And then before you know it, your head's spinning. And in this case, before you know it, if you're Chloe PI and you're asking direct questions to Chris Proudfoot and he's being a total jerk to you, and he's being like a complete like dill hole, right? Like a total tool. He's just sitting there, he's just being a tool to her. And she's trying to verify, she's trying to take care of misinformation. You know, they kept saying it throughout Web Sleuths, hey, we just want to clear it up. Let's just get it cleared up. You know, but you can't get anything cleared up with Chris because he's not telling the truth and he doesn't remember what was said. And so they never do seem to get their story straight, and they never seem to remember their lies, which is very, very hard because once you lie, you have to cover up that lie with another lie, and so on and so on. We learned this when we're really little, most of us. But apparently they haven't, and so we see this misinformation throughout the interviews, them adding different pieces that somehow were pieces that were verifiable through camera footage, like the footage at the school when Katie drove to the school and the footage of her leaving her home. And so when we think about that, those important details, or how Katie has added in details and then she goes and backtracks and she won't do any interviews solo. She only did the Reels interview without Chris, but Seth also verifies that he has been told directly by Chris that he's not allowed to talk to Katie without Chris being present. And that's because, as we've seen through the video, they cover each other's tracks. So if one person says something the wrong way, the other one is there to jump in and clean it up and do the damage control. And so it's just really frustrating, especially because we know that they're playing games, and we have this 15-year-old child who's missing, and he's been missing for far too long with no evidence, and we don't even know which way to turn or look for him because we don't know what's going on. And the only parent that has been, I can't say 100% truthful, but when it counts, Seth has been truthful in my opinion when it comes to giving out just straightforward answers, just acting like a parent who has a missing child, acting like he's concerned, showing that he is searching and wanting to find out where his child is. And so that's just very normal and instinctual in my opinion, and I can't understand the latter. But that's all I really have for you all today, and I really hope that you enjoyed my raw narrative. Definitely hit the like button and subscribe so you will be alerted to new videos. I'm going to be working on part 3 of this video, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. And I'm also working on something special behind the scenes, and that will be put out as soon as possible. So stay tuned. Thank you all so much for joining me. Lady Justice is blind, but we are not. Lady Justice listens carefully, and so should we. Stay safe out there, everyone. I will talk to you all very soon.